Chapter 535. Diaolang. You are still acting. Only the four of us know about this. Why did the barrier disappear when we went out to look for it? It is obvious that you are afraid that we have other methods, so you attacked first to gain the upper hand. The martial saint's words received the agreement of the other two because it is too coincidental. The barrier disappeared just when they went out to look for it. I really don't have it. Diaolang looked at the three of them with a pleading gaze. All of them have ancient godly items. If they attack him together, he will definitely die on the spot. He Tian persuaded. Diaolang, if you take it out now, we can still let bygones be bygones. That's right. Take it out now. Take it out. Diaolang's eyes were bloodshot as he roared. I really don't have it. The martial saint's gaze became serious. Looks like you are forcing us to use force. Seeing that the martial saint was about to make a move, Diaolang was startled. There is no chance of winning at all. Right now, only by running out will he have a chance of survival. Diaolang did not think anymore, and turned around to run. Trying to run. The martial saint shouted coldly. The iron arrow floating in the air turned into a black light, and attacked according to the martial saint's order. A sharp blade appeared in Diaolang's hand as he turned around to run and blocked the arrow. Clang! The sharp blade in Diaolang's hand was broken. However, he managed to block the attack and caused the iron arrow to deviate. The iron arrow flew past his face. However, the iron arrow turned around and launched a second attack. Diaolang had already touched the wooden door, and was just a tiny bit away from opening it. However, his leg was entangled. The yellow long whip in Morongji's hand was like a huge python as it entangled Diaolang's leg. The thick and big whip head was like the head of a snake as it swayed. With a fling of his hand, Diaolang's body fell in the middle of the room. Run! The martial saint shouted angrily. Right now, the three of them can conclude that it was this Diaolang who sent people to take it. Otherwise, why would he be in such a hurry to run? The three of them surrounded Diaolang, and their killing intent surged. Diaolang could feel the murderous aura from the three of them. There was no point in trying to explain himself now. The only thing he could do was to ask for help. Just as Diaolang was about to open his mouth and shout for help, Morongji's whip head directly drilled into Diaolang's mouth. The thick and big whip head filled Diaolang's mouth to the brim, and the whip itself had thorns. Diaolang's mouth was immediately severely damaged, and blood flowed out from the corner of his mouth. The three of them looked at each other. This person definitely couldn't be left alive, because he knew too many secrets. After killing him, they would capture his clansmen and interrogate them one by one. With this plan, the martial saint did not show any mercy and controlled his ancient godly item. The iron arrow pierced through the air and pierced through Diaolang's head before returning to his hand. Diaolang could only feel the back of his head lighting up, and then he felt dizzy. These three bastards. Even if I become a ghost, I won't let you off. Diaolang fell to the ground. There was a bloody hole on his forehead, and blood was flowing out of it. His eyes were wide open in death. His corpse must be found, the martial saint said calmly. Morongji nodded his head. That's right, his subordinates are definitely panicking right now. Then we have to send people to keep an eye on his subordinates and see which one of them is acting strangely. The three of them nodded their heads and came to a consensus. Meanwhile, this Diaolang could be said to have died unjustly. His ancient godly item was broken, and then he was suspected by three fools, and the three fools even killed him. Diao family, one of the four great families in the south, died, and the cause of death died unjustly. Meanwhile, outside, everyone was still in a state of excitement. They were excited because they saw the Empress's figure, and they didn't feel anything about the barrier suddenly disappearing. What does it have to do with us? Dawn dispelled the darkness of night, ushering in a brand new day. This day was also the first day of the martial arts competition. However, in the morning, Donghuang Baiji received a piece of bad news. Diao family, one of the four great families in the south, died miserably in a small forest. Baiji, do you want me to go with you? Qingye asked with concern. Donghuang Baiji was already dressed neatly, and she shook her head. No need, Qingye. The most important thing right now is for you to properly take care of your pregnancy. In actuality, it is best for you to stay in Voidless Realm. I have Yi Hua with me. I am worried too. Qinya said with a gentle smile as she rubbed onto her big belly with both of her hands. I am looking forward to the arrival of my son. Who does my son look like? I heard that my son will look like my mother. That means that my son will definitely be a handsome boy. Right now, Yi Hua had become a stay-at-home father, and he was accompanying his daughter every single day. Dong Huangli was also very happy. I finally managed to snatch daddy over from mommy. Yi Hua, I am going out. Dong Huang Baiji greeted her husband. Yi Hua nodded his head, and only then did Dong Huang Baiji dare to walk out of the house. When the empress walked out of the house, Voidless Realms guards were all around the house. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji sat on top of the imperial palanquin, displaying the demeanor of an empress. When the imperial palanquin passed by the streets in the north, the family heads only stretched their heads out to take a look. There was no cheering at all, and even the family heads of influential families did not come. From this, it could be seen that the current Voidless Realm had already been isolated by all of the powers in the north. However, when the empress really appeared, they no longer dared to continue clamoring. Dong Huang Baiji sat inside the imperial palanquin with her beautiful eyes closed. Perhaps, I really have to do as Yi Hua said. I have to use my iron fist to suppress everyone. When the imperial palanquin arrived at the streets in the south, cheers could be heard. When the imperial palanquin saw that the empress had come over, they were simply too excited, as if the empress was their big shot. As the organizer of the event this time, when such a murder happened, Dong Huang Baiji had to come over and take a look. As expected of the empress, this imperial palanquin is not an ordinary one. I can faintly feel that it is a spirit artifact. That's right. However, our big shot is also riding on a spirit beast, and they are more or less of the same level. But why do I feel that the empress is even more awesome? Hehe, you must be thinking that the empress is more awesome, right? Everyone was discussing about the empress, and some of them even tailed behind the imperial palanquin. When I get a closer look at the empress, my life will be worth it. The imperial palanquin arrived at Ing family's residence and stopped. Under the service of a maid, Dong Huang Baiji appeared in front of everyone. Everyone held their breath as they looked at Voidless Realms Empress, who was wearing a purple gown and a golden crown. The Empress is so imposing. Every single movement of hers is so charming, and even the movement of her hand is so perfect. Furthermore, when the Empress raised her foot and stepped on the ground, it seemed like she was itching to get rid of the dust on the ground and let the Empress step on her own body. That mysterious back view and that fair and jade-like neck really caused all of the male compatriots to stand up straight. Why did the heavens create such a woman? And furthermore, it is a woman that we are unable to obtain. Isn't this the same as suffocating us to death? As the Empress walked into the residence, everyone became disappointed. Chapter 536. The Empress's guards immediately looked towards the source of the voice. They actually dared to be so disrespectful towards the Empress. Soon after, more people started shouting, and more people started shouting at the same time. Dong Huang Baiji, who was inside the room, was able to hear the voice. They are really not afraid of me, they lack dignity. The shouts outside didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, and it seemed like they were mocking the Empress. Even Qi Shuwen and Xian Ba were shouting along with the shouts. Quiet! A cold shout immediately burst out from inside the room. This was not what Dong Huang Baiji said, but what Ing Jingshan shouted. A bunch of people who are not afraid of death actually dared to mock the wife of the Supreme Overlord. Are they tired of living? Following Ing Jingshan's shout, the outside indeed became quiet. Dong Huang Baiji sighed in her heart. A woman without deterrence, who would be afraid of her? In everyone's eyes, I am a philanthropist, the kind of person who is easy to talk to, which is why I dared to mock her like this. Look at Ing Jingshan, do they dare to do this? They clearly don't dare to do this. Therefore, what Yi Hua said is correct, I need a bloodbath to establish my might. I am actually not that easy to talk to. Dong Huang Baiji looked at the corpse that was placed in the center of the room and asked faintly, what happened? With an outsider present, Ing Jingshan naturally wouldn't be too low-key. He indifferently said, Empress, this Jiao Lang was discovered in the forest today. The wound on his forehead is fatal, and his oral cavity has also suffered a serious injury. His oral cavity is severely injured? That sounds really strange. Do you have any suspects? Dong Huang Baiji asked. The martial saint who was at the side cupped his hands and said, Empress, the barrier suddenly disappeared last night. I'm afraid that a powerful enemy appeared. Dong Huang Baiji sized up Diao Lang's body, then said slowly, This person's clothes are clean, and there isn't a single wound on his body. I'm afraid that he was ambushed by someone, or someone familiar with him. Furthermore, to be able to ambush an aristocratic family's family master, his strength cannot be underestimated. The hearts of the three sunk. This empress's thoughts are so meticulous, it is truly scary. Dong Huang Baiji was a woman who accompanied Yi Hua to watch Detective Conan, and right now, she had a slight understanding of the situation. Ying Jingshan said, Empress, I suggest to strengthen the security to prevent similar things from happening. That's fine. This is the internal affairs of the South. This emperor will not interfere. Do as you see fit. Dong Huang Baiji said faintly. After that, she walked out of the tavern, sat on the imperial palanquin, and walked towards the martial arts stage, because the opening ceremony was about to begin. Looking at the empress leaving, Ying Jingshan said gravely, The three of you investigate this matter thoroughly. Yes. The three of them answered in unison. When Ying Kongsher, who was standing at the side, saw the front of Her Majesty, he felt that it was really great. In his mind, he had already started to imagine the scene where Her Majesty would be tormented by me, and the scene where Her Majesty would beg for forgiveness from me. Ying Kongsher was intoxicated. At 8 in the morning, everyone walked into the martial arts arena one after another. The south side was on the left, and the north side was on the right. There was a huge martial arts arena in the middle. Meanwhile, on the high platform directly opposite them, that was the grandstand for the Empress. Slightly below them was the winner's grandstand, and it was clear that there was a difference in status. On the other hand, Ying Jingshan didn't mind at all. After all, this was the truth. Below the two of them were the people from the aristocratic families of both sides. Dongfang Yuan, who rarely appeared on the stage, appeared on the stage. Looking at the number of people, the north side had the advantage. After all, a family head of an aristocratic family had died last night, and furthermore, the family head did not manage to find any ancient godly item, and thus, the family head of the south side should be eliminated. Although the distance between the north and the south side was very far, the cursing did not stop at all. This doesn't look like a martial arts competition at all. This is clearly a gathering of hoodlums. Ying Jingshan sat down and did not say anything. This kind of situation naturally has to be suppressed by your wife. And Ying Kongsher really wants to help the Empress vent her anger by killing a few people to vent his anger. The people from the aristocratic families of the north had an appearance of watching a good show. The uglier the Empress is, the more advantageous it is for them. Dong Huang Baiji, who had not made a move the entire time, suddenly stood up. In actuality, she was still angry, but now was not the time to be angry. All of you quiet down, I have a few things to announce. Dong Huang Baiji didn't open her mouth to scold anyone, rather, she wanted to announce a few things. The family heads of the south gave face to Dong Huang Baiji, and all of them stopped their scolding. However, some of the old foxes from the north were still speaking in a low voice. They didn't put the Empress in their eyes at all. In their hearts, they were thinking, is the Empress going to start a massacre? She is a female bodhisattva who saves people from suffering, and back then, she even went to the south to save people. Dong Huang Baiji didn't pay attention to those people from the north and continued. I have been in charge of the north for several years, and I have a daughter. The daughter's name is Dong Huang Li. Along with Dong Huang Baiji stopping speaking, little Ali's figure walked towards her mother, and stood beside her mother. This was the first time that Dong Huang Baiji announced Dong Huang Li's identity to the outside world, and also admitted that she had already been a mother for several years. Rumors are just rumors, but now that I have seen it with my own eyes and heard it with my own eyes, everyone was extremely shocked. I didn't expect that the Empress really has a daughter, and from the looks of it, the Empress should already be 3 to 4 years old, right? I didn't expect that the Empress has already been taken advantage of by someone for so many years. Everyone thought that the empress's daughter was the symbol of purity. Disappointment, disappointment. Yi Xiao and the others from the aristocratic families of the north revealed a sneer on their faces. For the empress to choose this kind of time to announce this kind of thing, isn't she shooting herself in the foot? This will only anger all of the powers in the north more and more. Dong Huangli appeared very polite as she shouted out, "Hello everyone, my name is Dong Huangli." Everyone became deathly silent. This caused Dong Huangli to feel a bit hurt. It seems like I am not liked by everyone. Dong Huang Baiji rubbed onto her daughter's head. One needs to experience the joys and sorrows of life to grow up. Next is my good sister, Qinya. Qinya, who was standing at the back, had a startled look on her face. Why is Baiji asking me to go out as well? Yi Hua laughed. Empress, you are preparing to introduce your entire family to the world. But Qinya was a bit embarrassed. After all, I am holding on to a big belly. Alright, what are you afraid of? Just treat it as you pulling hatred towards Baiji. Yi Hua retracted his smile and said faintly, the reason why Donghuang Baiji is doing this is to anger those who are preparing to rebel against her, or those who are wavering. Qinya rolled her eyes at Yi Hua, then closed her eyes and said, kiss me, then I will have the guts to walk out. This little woman, I am becoming more and more fond of her. Yi Hua stretched out his hand and lifted Qinya's chin, then lightly kissed her. All right, now that you have received my kiss, hurry up and go. Look at how smug you are. Qinya laughed helplessly. Soon after, her expression tensed up as she walked out from the back of the stage. Chapter 537. He instantly thought of the Empress saving the South that time. Wasn't there a heroine by his side? Could it be her? Why is she still pregnant? From the looks of it, she is going to give birth soon. In the South, Cloud sect master Wu Hao still remembered Qinya. That heroine saved his life that day. I had always wanted to repay Qinya, but I really couldn't think of how to repay Qinya. Originally, I wanted to repay Qinya with my body, but when I saw Qinya walking out with a big belly, why do I feel so much pain in my heart? As if someone stabbed me a few times. Chen Xuanzong, who was in the north, also felt the same way. He stared blankly at Qinya, who walked out. I haven't seen her for a few months, and her belly is already so big. I'm angry. I'm so angry. Qinya swept her gaze across everyone. She wasn't weak at all. Qinya was a woman who had seen the world. When she was in Blue Blaze Planet, the Federation's president had sent out a powerful army, but they were still trampled by her man. And in the end, they ran away with their tails between their legs. But right now, all of this was nothing at all. It was nothing to be afraid of. Just that, Donghuang Baiji's following words shocked everyone, to the point that their jaws almost dislocated. Donghuang Baiji could be seen holding onto Qinya's hand and saying faintly, not only are we good sisters, we also have the same husband. The entire place became deathly silent. The Empress and this extremely beautiful woman are serving the same husband. How is this possible? Just hugging one of them is already a great merit, let alone two. Furthermore, both of these women are going to give birth to that man's child. This should be the first time in Kongshi saw Qinya, and he was deeply attracted by Qinya's beauty. These two women are simply incomparable, if it's possible. Although Kongshi had extinguished the lamp, it didn't stop him from fantasizing about all kinds of things. Hearing this, Jingshan was very calm. He already knew about it. However, all of the aristocratic families were stupefied. They really didn't expect that the Empress would actually be willing to serve the same husband with another woman. After all, the Empress's identity is very noble. How is it possible for her to do this? Everyone felt deeply disappointed, and the Empress's position in their hearts plummeted. The few people from the northern aristocratic families were incomparably happy. The Empress was simply digging her own grave by doing this, digging a hole to bury herself. The sect leader of the Cloud sect, Wu Hao, was in complete disbelief. He clasped a hand over his forehead. The heroine was actually serving the same man as the Empress? Heavens! Just what kind of man is he, to actually be this lucky, to be able to obtain their favor? This is too fake. As for Chen Xuanzong, he felt unwell all over. I didn't expect that Long Outyin not only harmed Qinya, He even harmed the empress. How is this possible? With Long Outyan's foolish appearance, how could he obtain the empress's favor? Who are you trying to fool? In any case, I, Chen Xuanzong, refuse to believe that all of this is fake. All of it is fake. Qingye is mine, Donghuang Baiji continued. Next, let's welcome my husband Yi Hua. Yi Hua, who was standing behind the platform, was currently doing his hair. A mirror appeared in front of Yi Hua's eyes, and Yi Hua wiped some hair wax onto his head. Then, he carefully took care of it, making sure that when a gust of wind blew past, the hairstyle would not change. Hearing his beloved wife shout, Yi Hua was currently considering what steps he should use to walk out of the room. Recently, he had seen a few sets of footwork that were not bad. All of them had their own background music, and they walked with the wind. However, that kind of footwork was not suitable for the main body. It was too frivolous. The main body walked the path of steady footwork. Forget it, I'll just do it the same way as before. Yi Hua's expression tensed up. He took out the mirror once again and took a look at it, making sure that his hairstyle was not messed up. Yi Hua could be seen walking out of the room with steady footwork. His pair of eyes were very deep, causing others to not dare to look at him directly. Could this be the legendary death gaze? That face that seemed as if it was carved by a knife, that tall nose bridge, those sharp eyebrows, those sharp eyes, and that tall and straight body that seemed to be able to hold up the heavens, as expected of a real man. Furthermore, a faint aura was being emitted out from his body. Although it wasn't dense, it caused others to not dare to have any strange thoughts. Just by standing there, I can already feel that they are quite compatible. How can the appearance of this family of four be so high? Looking at the man who suddenly appeared, Wu Hao immediately felt a sense of inferiority. That man's appearance is able to crush me, and that calm temperament of his is even more so. Why is there such a perfect man? To the point where I am unable to have any thoughts of fighting over him. Meanwhile, Chen Xuanzong was dumbstruck. When did Long Outyan become like this? He even has a name now. F*CK, this damned Long Outyan is indeed cunning. Do you think that I, the Demon Emperor, would not recognize you just because you changed your appearance and name? You actually turned into such a beautiful man, and your skin is even better than mine. No wonder you were able to subdue the Empress and Qingye Long Outyan. You are simply fucking shameless. I, the Demon Emperor, will definitely expose your true appearance, and let Qingye see your true appearance. Wow, the Empress's husband is so handsome. That's right, metallographic, he is like a tiger and a dragon. A pear blossom suppresses a begonia, a jade tree that surpasses Pannon. No wonder the Empress and Qingye would fall in love with him. If it was me, I would also say the same thing. What a perfect man. Ng Jingshan swallowed his saliva. Should I salute? Forget it. If I were to salute, I reckon that my head would be removed from my body. His honor still likes to be like this. He is so awesome. Meanwhile, when Ng Kongshi saw Yi Hua, he clenched his teeth tightly. This is the demon who snatched away my fiancé and killed a lot of people from Ng family. I will definitely take revenge for this demon. When the time comes, I will snatch away my fiancé. Even if she had given birth to a child before, I wouldn't mind at all. In actuality, Yi Hua really wanted to say a few words such as, "Do you all want to die? To even dare to touch my woman, with just a snap of my fingers, I will turn all of you into ashes." However, this time, this is Donghuang Baiji's home ground, and I am only here to accompany her. It is fine for me to just watch my wife act cool. I don't want to snatch away my wife's limelight. From the looks of it, this personality of mine has also been learned by them. I like to create big scenes. However, this scene is still considered big. Although the scene isn't big, Yi Hua still admired everyone's gazes, which were filled with astonishment and puzzlement. When the martial arts competition ends, you all will know what is called cruelty. I didn't expect that Her Majesty and heroine Qingye would be serving the same husband. I don't know why, but my heart is in so much pain. Xian Ba said while holding on to his chest. Qi Shuwen looked at Yi Hua and felt that he had seen Yi Hua before, but he was unable to remember where he had seen Yi Hua before. However, to be able to have a woman like Yi Hua's strength is definitely not ordinary. Chapter 538. Xian Ba suddenly revealed a yearning expression. He clenched his fists tightly and whispered, "That's right. I have to work hard in my cultivation, so that I can become a man like him in the future." Some of the southern clan leaders, or the newly established clan leaders, all had fiery gazes. This was a real man. He had women like the Empress and Heroine, and they were even willing to give birth to his children. Thinking about that exciting process, it was definitely a man's ultimate dream. In order to achieve such an ultimate dream, we should also cultivate hard and strive to achieve our goal as soon as possible. If Yi Hua, who was standing on the spectator stand, were to know what these people were thinking, he would definitely strike them down mercilessly. "I'm afraid you won't be able to cultivate my strength in this lifetime. Other than envy and despair, you will have nothing left." Also, these two women only moved their mouths, and then went to bed with me. This has absolutely nothing to do with strength. Yi Hua didn't say these words out loud. However, on the day that the martial arts competition ended, I will be able to say it out loud. That day will be the day that I, the Supreme Overlord, and my wives will go crazy. I am truly looking forward to it. The dense smell of blood was gradually approaching, and a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Yi Hua's mouth. However, no one noticed that Yi Hua was smiling. Isn't this man the boss of Long and City's leisure bar? A certain family head in the south seemed to have thought of something and asked, "The Empress of the North is actually married to the boss of a bar." This was too nonsensical. The audience immediately went into an uproar, and intense discussions broke out. "But I heard that the owner of this bar is very mysterious." That's right. I heard that the terrifying Black Robe once went to that bar." "There's such a thing?" A few months ago, during the ancient godly equipment snatching battle, that black-robed man suppressed everyone and even hugged Yun Sek's sect master, Sun Fong. Sigh, I don't know what happened to the southern girl, Sun Fong. Perhaps she has already been eaten by that terrifying black robe. That's right, even if he didn't get eaten, he would definitely be tortured by the black robe, so cruel. Right now, Death Mage really wanted to come out and explain. Just who the F***ck is this scary? It is obviously this ugly woman who bullies people just because she has a piece of meat on her body, and I, the dignified black robe, have to mop the floor at home every day and become a slave. You guys tell me, just who is the one who is abusing who? What do you think is the relationship between this man and black robe? Friends? Superior and subordinate? Master and servant? Such discussions immediately began. It was impossible for them to be friends. How could they be friends? Such a terrifying existence did not need friends at all. If they weren't superior and subordinate, then they were master and servant. However, everyone thought that this man had curried favor with Black Robe, and that was how he had obtained the appreciation of the Empress and the heroine. That made sense. Yi Hua didn't say anything after hearing what Yi Hua said. You all don't even know who my subordinates are. If I were to allow them to appear one by one, you all would completely lose your confidence and become ants under the heavens. Yi Hua wouldn't sit on the main seat. After all, she was his wife, and letting his wife act cool was what a man should do. Yi Hua and Qingye sat behind Donghuang Baiji. Yi Hua was still sitting in his usual posture, the sitting posture of the big boss. Then he took out a cigarette and lit it up. The crisp sound of a lighter resounded throughout the venue. Everyone looked at Yi Hua, who was lighting up his cigarette. That slightly squinting eyes, that slowly exhaling smoke. Why is it so imposing? This man is so handsome even when he is smoking. This man is simply invincible. To be able to blend the smoking posture into that sitting posture without any discomfort, I even feel that the scene is so beautiful. The cyan-colored smoke caused that man's face to become blurry, giving off an even more mysterious color. That deep gaze of his seems so melancholic. So smoking can be done like this. I have gained a lot of knowledge today. At this very moment, even those who don't smoke also wanted to smoke a cigarette. Then a strange phenomenon was created. The entire martial arts stage was emitting out a cyan smoke. Everyone was holding on to a cigarette. It was such a spectacular scene. When Yi Hua saw this scene, he couldn't help but laugh. These humans, they just love to follow the trend and create momentum. Meanwhile, Qingye and Donghuang Baiji had a helpless look on their faces. What can they do when they meet a smoking addict husband? It must be said that the current Yi Hua was very much like a leader. From the moment he walked out to the moment he sat down, he did not say a single word. Yet he was able to drive the rhythm of the entire audience. I didn't waste my time for the past 5 years, and I didn't watch the movie Calabash Brothers Saving Grandpa blindly. Martial arts competitions start. Following Donghuang Baiji's shout, Voidless Realms Yuquan appeared in the air. This competition will be conducted by drawing lots. It will be a confrontation between the North and South. Life and death are up to the heavens. Of course, you can also admit defeat. Yuquan's words startled everyone. Life and death were up to the heavens. Shouldn't he stop there? This is the normal routine. Why would Voidless Realm set such a rule this time? Everyone looked very serious. A confrontation between the North and the South? He could die. And he could even admit defeat. Wasn't this reminding everyone that admitting defeat was extremely shameful? After all, it was a battle between the North and the South. If they admitted defeat, what would happen after the competition? If he went out, he wouldn't even be able to raise his head. All the clan heads in the North looked towards the Empress on the high platform. How scheming! He wanted to kill with a borrowed knife, and use the Southerners to consolidate his own strength. We have truly underestimated this Empress. The aristocratic families in the North had grave expressions on their faces. This move of the Empress caught them unprepared. There are at least 1,000+ people on the scene. If this competition continues, wouldn't there be only half of them left? If there were a few more rounds, wouldn't there be no more? Could it be that the Empress and Ing family are planning to do a big reshuffle? Are they planning to make use of this competition? None of the people on the scene were fools. Even fools wouldn't be able to become a family head. They also realized this problem. If the Empress doesn't admit defeat, only one out of the two will be able to survive. If this continues, how many people will be able to walk out of this competition? Unless they admit defeat. Yi Hua was a bit surprised. I didn't expect that my woman would actually do such a thing. She never told me about this before. This is a bit formidable. Looking at the fight between the North and the South, and the fight was done openly, Yi Hua laughed lightly. My original goal has been achieved. Furthermore, it was achieved by my wife. This is very unexpected. Donghuang Baiji's way of doing things made Yi Hua feel very gratified. If they don't put you in their eyes, then let everyone else see it. The authority of the Empress is not to be touched by anyone. There will only be one result for those who touch it. Death. Yuquan paused for a while, then continued. The number 1 in this competition. The number 1 will receive 100 longevity fruits. Number 2, 70. Number 3, 50. Number 4 to number 10 will receive 1 participation prize. The audience went into an uproar once again. The number 1 actually received 100 longevity fruits. Furthermore, the number 2 and number 3 also received that many longevity fruits. Chapter 539. The family head's expression was very unsightly. In the past, they were only given a total of 100 fruits, and this time, the champion would get a total of 100 fruits. If the Southerners were to take away the fruits, wouldn't that be forcing the Northerners to rebel? Just what is the Empress's intention? Such a reward made everyone's eyes become hot. Right now, I just want to get into the top 10, and it would be best if I can get into the top 3. With that many longevity fruits, I won't have to worry about my life anymore. Life is something that cannot be bought with anything, and now that it has appeared, how could anyone not be excited? Furthermore, the number of longevity fruits is so big, it is enough for me to live for a few lifetimes. Even if I have to fight to the death, I must get my hands on it. Donghuang Baiji's scheme made everyone realize that this martial arts competition was not simple. However, in order to dispel their worries, she used the huge amount of longevity fruits to tempt them. From the looks of it, the effect was achieved. This scheme is too deep. Yi Hua didn't expect that Baiji would have such a scheme, and he was very happy in his heart. In actuality, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji weren't stupid. In front of Yi Hua, they chose to act like stupid women to satisfy Yi Hua's male mentality. Ing Jingshan was also a bit surprised. But he thought that this was his honor's intention. He didn't have any doubts, and he didn't dare to have any doubts. The northern aristocratic families that were sitting below began discussing in low voices. This matter should be beneficial to us, Jiang Yuanzhou said in a low voice. 3 days later, we will unite everyone and overthrow the Empress's authority. Yi Xiao nodded his head. That's right, the Empress's method will only anger the northerners even more. But you all didn't think of it. But didn't the Empress think of it? But why did she insist on going her own way? Chu He said gravely. Duan Ho laughed lightly, then said in a low voice, the Empress wants to borrow the hands of the South to get rid of some of the northern powers that are against her. This way, she will be able to reduce the pressure on the North, and our coercion will not be that threatening. After hearing that, Yi Xiao and Jiang Yuanzhou nodded their heads. What the Empress said makes sense. Meanwhile, Chu He was very vexed. I don't want to participate in this at all. I feel that this matter is not that simple. On the other side, Qi Shuwen and Xian Ba were also discussing. Brother Qi, the number one position is obviously from those aristocratic families. The number one position is all decided internally. Xian Ba shook his head. It's basically impossible for those aristocratic families to get the number one position. The difference in strength is right here. Qi Shuwen felt that Xian Ba was right. How could they possibly get the first place? Xian Ba, don't be discouraged. Just treat it as learning experience. Qi Shuwen was consoling them, because he had already gained something from this trip. It was a super treasure, and once he stabilized his strength he would become an overlord. Xian Ba could only comfort himself in this way. At this moment, the mad senior in Xian Ba's mind said calmly, Xian Ba, don't be disheartened. Although this longevity fruit is good, when your strength reaches the peak, you can easily obtain it. I understand, old Feng. A resolute look appeared in Xian Ba's eyes. He had to cultivate as hard as he could. Otherwise, he would be like a salted fish, unable to make a comeback. It wasn't just the two of them who were discussing this. Many people were also discussing the fairness of this competition. Some people even shouted that it was rigged. Yu Quan continued, Her Majesty the Empress has set up a rule to deal with the difference in strength. No one is allowed to use spiritual qi. Using spiritual qi means losing. The Southerners, who were generally weaker, were stunned for a moment. Then they cheered loudly and shouted the slogan of the Queen's might. Meanwhile, the North, whose overall strength was powerful, was speechless. Was this Empress even someone from the North? To actually give benefits to the Southerners like this, where is the dignity of the North's big shots? Right now, some of the family heads who were hesitating all had thoughts of rebelling against the Empress. This is truly too disappointing. Donghuang Baiji once again used a scheme to provoke the entire North, causing the anger of the North to burn even more vigorously. At that time, I will be able to see just how many people are prepared to rebel against me. The few aristocratic families in the North sneered. This time, it would be hard for the Empress to not step down from the throne, unless she plans to do something that angers both humans and gods. Angers both humans and gods? Have Yihua not done enough? For the entire imperial city of Heaven's Mansion to be massacred, not only would that angers both humans and gods, even the sky itself would be crying tears of blood. Therefore, in Yihua's eyes, this could at most be considered as a lesson, and it wasn't to the extent of angering both humans and gods. Meanwhile, the four family heads didn't expect that the kind Empress would suddenly turn evil. I reckon that 3 days later, even their intestines would turn green from regret. Empress is wise. Xian Ba shouted out loudly. The Empress who was on the stage was his goddess. Qi Shuwen also shouted out excitedly, Empress is mighty. Just a moment ago, I was planning to give up, but after hearing such a rule, my hope was immediately ignited. Since everyone is not going to rely on spiritual energy, they are going to rely on their own movement techniques. To those who aren't strong, this is a good thing. But to those who are strong, this isn't a good thing. All weapons will be provided by Voidless Realm. Yu Quan shouted out once again. Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards could be seen carrying all kinds of weapons onto the stage one after another. This kind of action caused those people who were hoping to get lucky to be angered badly. Because just a moment ago, they were still thinking of getting their hands on weapons, and right now, this path was immediately blocked off. This is too ruthless. This is simply not giving anyone a way out. Some of the minor family heads immediately started cheering. This is a typical counterattack. Perhaps, we might even be able to snatch the first place. Yihua sat at the back and smoked a cigarette. Seems like Baiji doesn't need me to lead her astray at all. Daddy hug. Dong Huangli stood at the side and stretched out her hands, looking extremely adorable. Yihua flicked away the cigarette, then carried his daughter. Ali, how about we guess the winner and loser? Sure, if Ali wins, Daddy wants to accompany Ali to sleep. Sure, no problem. Yihua agreed. In any case, they aren't allowed to touch each other, and if I sleep together with them, I might as well accompany my daughter. Both Qingye and Donghuang Baiji heard what Yihua said. Their daughter is actually openly trying to snatch her husband. This is a bit interesting. On the stage, Yuquan waved the wooden staff in his hand, and a huge lump of spiritual energy gathered at the center of the stage. Ha! Yuquan stretched out his palm and shouted out lightly. The huge lump of white spiritual energy turned into pieces of white tokens and flew into everyone's hands. Other than the two people on the main stage, everyone else got their tokens. Everyone took in a breath of cold air. This old man's spirit control is so strong, as expected of someone from Voidless Realm. Qi Shuwen looked at the white token in his hand. In the blink of an eye, the white token disappeared, and a number appeared on his hand. Number 1. Qi Shuwen was a bit stupefied. There are so many people, and yet I actually got number 1. Yu Quan said faintly. I believe that everyone has already seen the number on your hand. The martial arts competition has officially started. First match. Number 1 against number 2. Chapter 540. Xianba looked at the number in his hand and pursed his lips. Then he asked Qi Shuwen, Brother Qi, what's your number? Qi Shuwen was a little confused and didn't hear what Xianba said. Brother Qi. Xianba called out again. However, a figure suddenly appeared here. The audience was in an uproar. It was actually one of the northern aristocratic families, the Yi clan. Yi Shao. Xianba was also stunned and casually said, I don't know which unlucky guy will encounter patriarchy. He's simply courting death. That was what everyone was thinking. It was too sudden for the northern aristocratic family's clan head to appear in the first round. But it felt so exciting. He didn't know who was going to fight Yi Shao, but he guessed that he was going to suffer. At this moment, Qi Shuwen's mind was blank. His opponent was actually Yi Shao. Patriarchy. The north was one of the aristocratic families. Why am I so unlucky? Seeing that Qi Shuwen's expression wasn't good, Xianba's mouth turned into an O. Brother Qi, it can't be you, right? Yi Shao had been standing there for a while. Yu Quan furrowed his brows. The opposing side, enter the arena. As Yu Quan's voice faded, Qi Shuwen's right hand flashed with a faint white light. It was so bright that everyone could see it. Southern family head, if you don't come out now, it's equivalent to forfeiting. Yu Quan said coldly. At this moment, everyone was looking at Qi Shuwen, especially the people from the south. They seemed to be asking, hurry up and go. What are you waiting for? Don't embarrass the southerners. Even if he had to die, he had to go. Meanwhile, the northerners temporarily set aside their opinions of the empress and laughed heartily at the southerners. At this moment, Qi Shuwen was under a lot of pressure. If he was a little more rational, he would have admitted defeat. His opponent was Yi Shao. Her combat experience and physical strength were not on the same level. Even if he didn't use his spiritual energy, it would be very difficult for him to win. If he was not careful, he might be killed by the other party. This he had just obtained the treasure, so he didn't want any accidents to happen. At this time, Qi Shuwen's heart began to struggle crazily. Fight for glory, fight for development. Kid, what are you waiting for? Charge. Yeah, don't embarrass the southerners. There are no cowards in the south. Qi Shuwen, you're also a rising star of the south. How can you cower at such a crucial moment? Exactly. Even if the other party is the head of an aristocratic family, you still have to try. Everyone couldn't help but urge him. If someone retreated in the first battle in the south, the northerners would probably slap their face on the ground. Eximba said in a low voice from the side. Brother Chi, go. If you don't go, then after this, your reputation will suffer a disastrous decline. Besides, your opponent is Yi Xiao. Even if you admit defeat, it is very normal. Listening to Xinba's words, Qi Shuwen suddenly regained his senses. Yes, his opponent was Yi Xiao. Even if he admitted defeat, no one would say anything. However, as long as he appeared to be doing his best, he might be able to cause a stir in the south. Thinking of this, Qi Shuwen had already made a decision. Xinba, thank you. Eximba smiled and patted Qi Shuwen's shoulder. Good luck. Qi Shuwen nodded, and then he leaped lightly and landed on the battlefield. The Southerners all stood up and cheered when they saw Qi Shuwen go on stage. This young man is good. On the other hand, the northern side was filled with boos. What a brat who overestimated himself. He should just admit defeat and go home to take care of his children. Yi Xiao stood with his hands behind his back and silently looked at the young man in front of him. Yi Xiao's expression was somewhat similar to that of his back then. As an elder, Yi Xiao was very polite and asked faintly, "Don't you need a weapon?" Qi Shuwen was an expert in fist techniques and speed. As for weapons, he was a bit weak. Yi family head, this junior doesn't need a weapon. Qi Shuwen appeared very polite and courteous. After all, the person in front of him was a big shot from the north. All right, I admire you a lot. Yi Xiao laughed lightly. His right hand continued to be placed on Yi Xiao's back, while his left hand leaned forward. His meaning was very clear. I will only use one hand. Towards Yi Xiao's way of doing things, Qi Shuwen didn't say anything. Yi family head, sorry for offending you. The battle between the two was about to begin. Meanwhile, on the spectators' stand, Yi Hua, who was carrying his daughter, asked, Ali, who will win? Dong Huangli puffed out her cheeks and said with a smile, Ali, I guess which big brother will win. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched. My daughter is truly becoming more and more intelligent. Daddy, who do you think will win? Dong Huangli asked while grinning. Yi Hua said helplessly, Ali has already won. Qingye and Dong Huangbaiji heard what Dong Huangli said. Just how old is our daughter? And yet she is already this intelligent. Ali isn't guessing at all. This is the conclusion that she came up with after a detailed analysis. Because this Yi Xiao, or perhaps it should be said that the North aristocratic family will lose, and the North aristocratic family will give the South the biggest benefits. This way, the North will have a reason to be arrogant. Yi Hua couldn't help but pinch his daughter's cheeks. This little fellow is becoming more and more sensible. She knows how to analyze problems. Dong Huangli put on a look of, I'm just a child, and I'm just guessing randomly. Dong Huangli was very low profile, just like how low profile her father was. On the stage, Qi Shuwen assumed a posture, and looked at Yi Xiao, who was in front of him, vigilantly. Yi Xiao didn't make any movements, but in Qi Shuwen's eyes, Yi Xiao doesn't have any weaknesses at all. I don't even have the slightest chance of winning. As expected of the family head of an aristocratic family, just by standing there, he is giving off a very oppressive feeling. If Yi Xiao were to release his own spiritual qi, I would definitely be killed in an instant. The items in the Dragon God system won't be able to help me either. That's right. I can use my Dragon Qi to exchange for strength or speed. Let's take a look first. The Dragon Qi that I devoured is very precious. I still have to exchange it for other things. I can't just waste it like this. Qi Shuwen could be seen shouting out in a low voice. Then his body suddenly burst out. His speed was extremely fast. This caused everyone to cry out in surprise. I didn't expect that this little family head's strength would be so strong. Even without using his spiritual qi, he is still able to move at such a speed. As expected of a young hero. Even Yi Xiao was a bit surprised. This young man is indeed not bad. His speed is very fast. However, his opponent is me, Yi Xiao. Yi Xiao was still standing there without moving. However, this was just a misconception that he was giving off, and in actuality, he had already shifted his position. Qi Shuwen's punch landed on the air, and he immediately felt that the situation was bad. As expected of the family head, He is actually able to move at such a speed without using his spiritual qi. Yi Xiao immediately sent a side kick over. This set of moves was very fast, as if he knew that the opponent would be able to dodge the kick without a trace of hesitation. Yi Xiao laughed lightly. Not bad. However, it is merely not bad, it is still not enough to defeat me. Yi Xiao lightly blocked the kick with his left hand, then flipped his hand and grabbed onto Yi Xiao. Qi Shuwen's leg was grabbed onto. Chapter 541. Qi Shuwen steadied himself in the air, his forelimbs firmly touching the arena to increase the friction. All 10 of his fingers were rubbed until they bled, leaving behind long bloody marks. It was a ghastly sight. Qi Shuwen slid all the way to the edge of the arena before he managed to stabilize himself. If the arena wasn't big enough, he would have already fallen off. Yi Xiao was a little surprised. He actually managed to stabilize it. Interesting. The people in the south broke out in cold sweat. Luckily, they managed to stabilize themselves. He did not embarrass himself. The northerner laughed out loud. How could this brat be a match for patriarchy? It was good that he had fallen down just now. Otherwise, patriarchy would have taken his life. On the viewing platform, Yihua also slightly paid attention to Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen's willpower is not bad. Your Honor, he is that young man from yesterday. Zhu Tian's voice appeared in Yihua's mind. Oh. Since it's this young man, things have become even more interesting. I wonder what kind of surprise this young man will bring to me. Qi Shuwen, who was in the middle of the field, stood up. When he heard the mocking laughter of the northerners, he was very angry. Damn it. He had to win. You must. Qi Shuwen didn't hesitate anymore. He exchanged all the dragon energy in the system into strength and speed. Since he knew Yi Xiao's speed, he had to keep up with his own speed. Therefore, he added the dragon energy into speed, which was about 30% to 70%. After confirming it in the system, Qi Shuwen immediately felt that his body had undergone a qualitative change. His strength had increased, and his body felt much lighter. However, the dragon energy that he had been accumulating for a few months was gone just like that. He had originally planned to build a dragon palace at the bottom of the sea, but now it seemed like his plan was ruined. He didn't know how many months it would take for him to finish it. Now that things had come to this, they had to win the competition, or at least get into the top 3. Take more longevity fruits to comfort him. A cold light flashed in Qi Shuwen's eyes. The amount of dragon qi he had just added was not an ordinary amount. Qi Shuwen had intended to use it to build the dragon palace. With the dragon palace, it would produce dragon qi. Although it was not a lot, it would be endless. This was a huge amount of dragon energy, which showed how much Qi Shuwen had added. The current Qi Shuwen was like a completely different person. Ha! Qi Shuwen snorted coldly. His body leaned forward and he stomped on the ground. Even the sturdy bluestone on the stage was broken into pieces. It could be seen just how strong the force was. Yi Xiao's face darkened. How did this youth's speed increase so much? Yi Xiao wasn't the only one who thought this way. The people from the south and north were also stunned. This youth appeared in front of Yi Xiao in the blink of an eye. His speed was so fast that it left people speechless. And this was the result without using his spiritual energy. This young man had hidden his strength so deeply. Yi Xiao dodged quickly. His steps were a little messy, but it was not a big deal. Qi Shuwen focused on physical attacks. Fists, kicks, elbows, and knees were all lethal weapons. The moment Yi Xiao dodged, Qi Shuwen quickly adjusted his attacking posture. This was a bit against the definition of gravity. It was like a speeding car suddenly making a 180-degree turn. Of course, this kind of action put a burden on the body, but Qi Shuwen was proficient in this aspect, so he minimized the damage caused by the burden. Yi Xiao was shocked. He hurriedly used his left hand to block Qi Shuwen's fist. However, Qi Shuwen still had his own knee. Yi Xiao reflexively used his right hand to block. This scene was banned. Everyone who was present was dumbstruck. Didn't patriarchy just let others use one hand? Why did he do it now? The northerners felt that they had lost all face. The person on their side is the family head of an aristocratic family, and the other party is just a small family head. Since I have already let him go, then I should let him go all the way. Now that you used your right hand, isn't that equivalent to slapping my own face? Qi Shuwen, well done. Xian Ba shouted out loudly, appearing to be especially excited. Following Xian Ba's shout, all of the Southerners started shouting out. This young man has brought glory to the South too much, letting the other party's family head lose face. The Northerners who were still arrogant just a moment ago all stopped talking, and it was the Southerners who started shouting out. This is too great. Looking at the situation, Duan Ho said faintly, this Yi Xiao is too careless. Jiang Yuanzhou nodded his head. That's right, this young man is not simple, he has hidden his strength very deeply. Chu He said gravely. Under the situation where they are not using spiritual energy, the speed of the two should be on the same level. However, the toughness of Yi Xiao's fleshly body should be stronger than that young man's. Duan Ho said coldly, no matter how strong Yi Xiao's fleshly body is, under continuous attacks, Yi Xiao will not be able to withstand it. I hope that Yi Xiao will not lose too badly. Yi Xiao did intend to lose, but he did not intend to lose to a nameless junior. On this point, both Yi Hua and his daughter had guessed wrongly. However, this Qi Shuwen was also a different kind of person. That huge amount of dragon energy gave him the strength to fight against Yi Xiao. Of course, this was only under the condition that he didn't use his spiritual energy. If he used his spiritual energy, the gap between them would be immediately apparent. In the end, Qi Shuwen was still no match for Yi Xiao. However, the rules of the competition were like this, there was no other way. Young man, you are very powerful. Yi Xiao shook his hands and pushed Qi Shuwen away. This young man had actually caused him to lose so much face. Today he could only kill him. Apart from wanting to kill him, Yi Xiao was also very surprised. This young man didn't have such speed at first. Ever since he was sent flying, he suddenly erupted. He should be hiding his strength. What a meticulous mind. Such a young man couldn't be allowed to live. He would definitely be a scourge in the future. Although Yi Xiao wanted the Empress to step down, it did not mean that he was not loyal to the North. Qi Shuwen could already feel Yi Xiao's killing intent. It seemed that he had angered Yi Xiao. Today would not end so easily. Looks like I have to go all out. Yi family head, be careful. Qi Shuwen didn't hold back and took the initiative to attack. That strange speed erupted once again, and that freakish sharp turn. It was obviously a straight line attack, but when it suddenly made a turn, it was impossible to defend against it. Yi Xiao snorted coldly, and an imposing aura burst out from him. Everyone couldn't help but be speechless. To be able to release such an imposing aura without using any spiritual energy, as expected of a family head, you will be beaten to death by me. Yi Xiao's fist directly shot out. He actually chose to face Qi Shuwen head-on. Boom! An invisible wave of air suddenly exploded, and the entire arena was swept clean by this wave of air. It could definitely be licked. The entire stage became silent once again. Looking at the two people on the stage, the Northerners were stupefied. A small family head from the South actually received Yi Xiao's fist. How is this possible? When the Southerners saw Qi Shuwen receiving Yi Xiao's fist, they cheered as if they had been injected with chicken blood. They completely didn't expect that Qi Shuwen would actually be able to receive Yi Xiao's fist. Chapter 542. Not only was Qi Shuwen stunned, Yi Xiao was also stunned. Because Yi Xiao had not used his spiritual power to punch for a long time, he did not know the power of his punch at all. At this moment, he was stunned by Qi Shuwen in front of him. He felt even more ashamed. Especially when he heard the whispers from the north, he became even angrier. A wave of anger erupted from Yi Xiao's body. He raised his right fist again, and a terrifying aura burst out. And Qi Shuwen did not want to be outdone. He would use the most primitive method to fight. Ha! Qi Shuwen shouted, and his right fist punched out again. Their fists collided violently again, and the blue stone under their feet instantly cracked. Just with physical strength, the sturdy bluestone was actually broken. This made everyone exclaim. This Qi Shuwen was indeed the rising star of the South. Amazing! A huge wave of air swept across the entire martial arts field. Qi Shuwen was pushed back a few meters by Yi Xiao, and immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Qi Shuwen was also too arrogant. He thought that his strength was similar to Yi Xiao, so he used the same method to fight again. As expected, he was still at a disadvantage. After all, he added the dragon energy to his speed, and did not add much to his strength. How could he fight against Yi Xiao? He should use speed to win. This was the result of being too arrogant. The people from the north cheered again, as if Yi Xiao had done some shocking feat, and the people from the south looked at Qi Shuwen. Even if Qi Shuwen admitted defeat now, they would not blame him, just like what Xinba said. Facing such a strong opponent, even if he admitted defeat, it would be fine. But this punch did not crush Qi Shuwen's confidence. Instead, a strong desire to fight surged in his heart. He began to cheat. Qi Shuwen chose to overdraft his dragon energy to make up for his weakness in strength. This plan was to win against Yi Xiao and become famous in one battle. After replenishing his strength, Qi Shuwen took a deep breath, and just like before, he punched out again. Everyone felt that Qi Shuwen was crazy. He was beaten to the point of bleeding just now, but he still chose to use his fist. You should use speed. Yi Xiao snorted. Really, a young man who does not know the immensity of heaven and earth? Then let me teach you a lesson. Yi Xiao raised his right fist and punched out again. Once again, the two of them clashed head-on. This time, the blue stone under their feet cracked more, and the wave of air produced was more violent. How is this possible? Everyone stood up, because the situation in front of them was too unbelievable. Yi Xiao was actually pushed back 5 meters. Don't look down on these 5 meters. Yi Xiao is the head of an aristocratic family. On the other hand, Qi Shuwen was also a ruthless character. He did not hesitate to overdraft his dragon energy to win. If he could not repay the overdraft in time, the consequences would be very serious. This was even more serious than borrowing a loan. Yi Xiao was actually beaten back. Our southern family's patriarch actually defeated Yi Xiao. Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen. Qi Shuwen. The southerners began to shout in unison, cheering for Qi Shuwen. The northerners seemed very gloomy. Listening to the cheers, Qi Shuwen suddenly felt that it was worth it. However, Yi Xiao was not in a good state at this time. His eyes were emitting a strange aura, and his body was trembling slightly. The shame in his heart was causing him to lose control of his spirit qi. This damned brat actually made him embarrass himself like this. Furthermore, he made a fool of himself on such an important occasion. He must die. A terrifying spiritual pressure immediately burst out, and Yi Xiao punched towards the empty space. A fist-shaped spirit qi could be seen attacking towards Qi Shuwen, emitting a terrifying pressure. Things happened too quickly, and everyone was unable to react in time. This is only the first match, and the northern family's patriarch actually violated the rules and used spirit qi to kill someone. Qi Shuwen immediately reacted, and the spirit qi in his body exploded out. I am unable to dodge this attack. I can only take it head-on. A golden spiritual wall immediately appeared in front of Yi Xiao, emitting out a dense dragon energy. However, when facing against Yi Xiao's fist, the golden wall seemed to be unable to withstand a single blow. The golden wall instantly shattered, but the golden wall was also slightly weakened. Qi Shuwen protected his chest with both of his hands, and the white fist fiercely smashed onto Qi Shuwen's arms. At this moment, Qi Shuwen felt that his entire body was falling apart, and his consciousness was also leaving his body. Suddenly, Qi Shuwen's body flew out and fiercely smashed onto the protective wall, and even sunk into the wall. At this moment, Qi Shuwen understood that the gap between them was not just a little big. Then he completely fainted. This kind of result caused everyone present to be stupefied. Yi Xiao actually violated the rules and used spirit qi to kill the southern family's future rising star. Truly vicious. Everyone from the southern family immediately reacted. Yi Xiao, you are shameless. Yi Xiao, you bastard. You violated the rules and used spirit qi to launch a sneak attack. Trash Yi Xiao, I look down on you. And you are even a family's patriarch. Tui. Right now, Yi Xiao's expression was gloomy. Just now, when he was in rage, he didn't think too much about it. However, it's also good that he was killed, lest he becomes the northern family's opponent in the future. Dong Huang Baiji did not say anything. Seeing that the empress did not say anything, Ying Jingshan also remained silent. At this moment, Yu Quan appeared in the sky again and announced the result of the match. Northern Yi family's patriarch, Yi Shao, violated the rules and used spirit qi, disqualified from the match. Winner, Southern Qi family Qi Shu Wen. Along with Yu Quan's wave of his hand, a few Voidless Realms Imperial Guards dragged Qi Shu Wen out from the protective wall, then fed him spring water from Voidless Realm. Not long later, Qi Shu Wen woke up. This caused Yi Zhao's jaw to almost drop onto the ground. This person actually didn't die. How is this possible? If not for the dragon energy protecting his body, Qi Shu Wen would indeed have died. It's a pity Yi Xiao suffered a double loss. The Northerners felt ashamed. I violated the rules and killed someone, but before that person died, he was saved by Voidless Realm. This is too ironic. Right now, Yi Xiao no longer had the face to stay on the stage and immediately flew out of the stage. Following Yi Zhao's departure, the Southerners began cheering for the victory of the first match. Qi Shu Wen took a deep breath, then bowed towards the Empress, thanking her for saving his life. Afterward, he bowed towards Ying Jingshan. Hearing everyone's cheers and applause, Qi Shu Wen felt that he did not suffer a loss. Although he was sent flying by Yi Zhao's punch, under the situation where he didn't have any spirit qi, it was still uncertain who would be the winner. Yi Xiao returned to his seat. Xianba hugged onto Qi Shu Wen. Brother Qi, you are my idol right now. Cough, cough, cough. Qi Shu Wen coughed for a while. There was a bit of internal injury that had not healed yet. I'm sorry. I didn't hurt you, right? Xianba hurriedly apologized. Qi Shu Wen smiled and shook his head. I won. I won. The two took another look at each other. They felt that there was a gay relationship between them. On the viewing platform, Dong Huangli said sweetly, Daddy, you have to accompany Ali to sleep tonight. Chapter 543. Losing the first match made everyone in the north very unhappy. After all, the one who lost was a family master of an aristocratic family. There was no reason for him to lose. The entire north viewing platform seemed to be abnormally gloomy. On the other hand, the faces of the south were brimming with a happy smile. This Qi Shu Wen really lived up to their expectations. After this match, Qi Shu Wen's name will probably resound throughout the entire cultivation world. Perhaps it is still worth it. Yu Quan slowly announced the next match. Number 100 vs number 200. Xianba was startled. Xianba, it can't be you, right? Qi Shu Wen felt that this was too much of a coincidence. This can't be intentionally arranged, right? Xianba was indeed number 100. I originally felt that this number was quite auspicious, but I didn't expect him to be on the second match. It's me. Xianba smiled helplessly. Qi Shu Wen patted on Xianba's shoulder and cheered him on. After taking a few deep breaths, Xianba leaped onto the stage with great difficulty and stood on the stage, waiting for his opponent. No one recognized Xianba, and they reckoned that he was just a new family master. When Chen Xuanzong's figure appeared on the stage, everyone in the north cried out in surprise. This Chen Xuanzong was a dark horse in the north. His individual strength was extremely strong, and if not for the fact that he didn't have an ancient godly item, he would probably be able to sit on the seat of an aristocratic family. Therefore, with Chen Xuanzong's current strength being pulled to the same position as an aristocratic family, it should be impossible for him to lose. In the previous match, his opponent was too sinister. He hid his strength too deeply. Otherwise, Yi Xiao wouldn't have been angered to the point of using his spiritual energy. Xianba had heard of Chen Xuanzong's story before. This man had only appeared for a few months, and he already became a dark horse in the north. Master, what should we do? The opponent is very strong. Xianba became anxious. Just now Qi Shu Wen won the first match. I cannot lose, otherwise, I will lose my face. Elder Feng remained silent for a long time, then asked faintly, Xianba, do you really want to win? That's right, master. This is the match that made me famous. I cannot lose. Xianba said anxiously. If he were to lose this match, his future path would be even more difficult. Ba, leave it to me. However, I will only help you this once. In the future, you have to work hard. Elder Feng's words were filled with confidence. His righteousness reached the clouds, and if he wasn't in his soul form, he would be able to come out and start a massacre, bringing disaster to the world. Seeing that his master had agreed to his request, Ba immediately felt a surge of confidence, and his entire person changed. Thank you, master. Ba, relax your entire body. Don't resist. Just a little bit of pain, and master will soon enter your body. Master, come on, I'm not afraid of pain. Ba was already prepared to welcome this strange pain. Old Feng let out a soft cry and immediately took control of Ba's body. It was indeed a little painful, but Ba could still see things in front of him. This was also a rare learning opportunity. Chun Xuanzong noticed Ba's transformation. If Ba was still a youngster just now, he had already turned into an old man who had been through hundreds of battles. A feeling of vicissitudes of life was slowly being emitted from him. The space between Chun Xuanzong's brows revealed a hint of graveness. The pressure that the other party suddenly gave off was extremely intense. What's going on? Everyone felt the change in Ba and were very curious. It was as if he had suddenly become a different person. Qinya, from the looks of it, your pursuer is going to lose. Yihua suddenly said. This stingy husband of mine is jealous. Qinya, who was at the side, was speechless. Dong Huangli cried out in surprise. Ah, this is Mommy Qing's ex-boyfriend? Qinya wanted to cry, but no tears came out. Just where did Ali learn these words from? Yihua was a bit displeased. While hugging onto his daughter, he said, That's right, this is your Mommy Qing's ex-boyfriend. He even chased after her all the way here. Her husband and Ali's words made Qinya very speechless. Qinya explained, Yihua, we were just friends in the past. According to the books, there is no normal friendship between a man and a woman, unless that man is very ugly. Dong Huangli's words gave Qinya a huge blow. Clearly this Chun Xuanzong is not ugly, and on the contrary he is very handsome. Yihua followed along and said, That's right. How can there be any normal friendship between a man and a woman? This time, Qinya was truly angered. Her pair of beautiful eyes immediately turned red, and a layer of mist even emerged from her eyes. She felt extremely wronged. I have already given birth to a child for you, and my belly is already so big, and yet you are still talking about me like that, making it seem like I am having an affair behind your back. How can I not feel sad? Dong Huang Baiji turned her head around and took a look, then glared at her daughter. This is so rude. Yihua didn't expect that Qinya would have such a big reaction. He was just teasing her a bit, but right now, there were a lot of people around, and he felt embarrassed to go and comfort his wife. Thus, he could only send out little Ali. Dong Huangli also knew that she was in the wrong. She jumped down from her father's embrace and walked to the front of Qinya, then said in a low voice, Mommy Qing, Ali was wrong, can you forgive Ali? No matter how angry she was, she shouldn't make things difficult for a child. Qinya squeezed out a trace of a smile. Mommy Qing didn't blame Ali. Qinya didn't like Yihua making jokes like this, because she was loyal to Yihua, and yet, Yihua said that she was betraying her, and she felt very uncomfortable. Mommy Qing, Ali will tell you a joke, okay? Dong Huangli looked at Qinya and begged. It seems like if you don't listen to Ali's joke, Ali would cry. Qinya, who was originally very sad, felt a bit better. However, if Yihua wants to coax his wife, he will have to put in a lot of effort. This is truly the evil that I brought upon myself, and yet I still have to use this kind of thing to tease my wife. On the stage, Ba stretched out his hand, and an ordinary-looking long sword appeared in his hand. Meanwhile, his left hand was naturally placed on his back. At first glance, Ba didn't seem to be very eye-catching, but the aura that Ba was emitting caused everyone to exclaim in admiration. Ba, who was holding onto the long sword, looked as if his entire body was a long sword, giving off a feeling that he was an unbreakable mountain. Ba's gaze was very calm, just like the water of a lake. Aren't you going to choose a weapon? Chun Xuanzong felt that he had met his match this time. Just this aura alone doesn't lose out to an aristocratic family's family head. Chen Xuanzong wasn't the only one who had such a thought. Everyone in the south also had such a terrifying thought. Just now, that Qi Shuwen had already caused them to exclaim in admiration, and this Xian Ba's performance was even more shocking. Qi Shuwen, who was on the viewing platform, was also dumbstruck. Xian Ba is actually this strong? From the looks of it, Xian Ba was hiding his strength as well. Qi Shuwen, who was on the stage, stretched out his hand, and a long sword fell into his hand. Immediately, Qi Shuwen brandished the long sword a few times. "Be careful," Chen Xuanzong shouted out in a low voice. Xian Ba was still very calm. "Young man, the one who should be careful is you." "Young man?" As a demon emperor, this was the first time that Chen Xuanzong heard someone addressing him in such a manner. Looking at that young and tender face, Chen Xuanzong snorted coldly, "You're boasting shamelessly." Chapter 544. This caused everyone to cry out in surprise. As expected of a dark horse from the north, such strength is indeed formidable. If he wasn't formidable, how could Duan Ho invite Chen Xuanzong personally? However, Chen Xuanzong had really underestimated this Xian Ba. Or rather, the crazy old man inside his body. The crazy old man's body suddenly moved and dodged the attack. The sword in his hand was already thrusted out. The sword was already on Chen Xuanzong's throat. Such a scene instantly froze. Instant kill. It really is an instant kill. The powerful expert from the north was killed by the southern family head once again. Xian Ba looked at Chen Xuanzong, who was in front of him, blankly. I didn't even see his master's movements clearly. His master dodged the attack and accurately thrusted out the sword in his hand. These two movements seemed to be subconscious reactions, and there wasn't any hesitation at all. My teacher is actually powerful to such an extent? Is he so powerful even without using his spiritual qi? Actually, the crazy old man couldn't use spiritual energy either. He was just a soul body, so how could he use spiritual energy? This kind of battle was most suitable for the crazy old man. Looking at Xian Ba, he felt that this battle was getting interesting. With Qi Shuwen and this young man in the south, I will have a lot of fun in the future. Qi Shuwen was dumbfounded. Chen Xuanzong's attack was very tricky, and Xian Ba dodged the attack with the smallest gap. The blade even grazed the corner of Xian Ba's clothes. Using a sword in this kind of situation, it was either luck, or his own strength was terrifying, and he was very confident in himself. Chen Xuanzong held onto the sword and revealed a shocked expression. A dignified demon emperor was actually killed by this young man in front of me. The cold light in his throat could clearly feel that he almost lost his life on the spot just now. I've made a fool of myself. I've truly made a fool of myself, especially when Qingye is still sitting on the throne, and that damned Long Out Yen is definitely laughing at me. You are thinking too much. Yihua doesn't have the mood to laugh at an ant. Just surrender. I am not interested in killing you. Xian Ba said indifferently. Once this sentence was said, the entire crowd went into an uproar. The title of Act Tough King is now firmly established. I didn't expect that after Act Tough King Xiao, another Act Tough King Xian would appear. This guy is simply a genius. The southern people immediately cheered. This Xian Ba is too powerful. He instantly killed the dark horse, Chen Xuanzong, with a single slash. Ha ha ha. The Northerners are only SOSO. A family head of an aristocratic family, and a dark horse were both killed by our young general. That's right. This Xian Ba is really good at acting. To actually say such words, I reckon that Chen Xuanzong is going to die from anger in the toilet. Chen Xuanzong was very angry. However, what could he do? He would lose if he used his spiritual energy to shake it off, but if he forced it? As he thought of this, Chen Xuanzong disregarded the tip of the sword on his Adam's apple, and raised the blade in his hand. Clang! Chen Xuanzong was overjoyed. He raised the blade in his hand once again, seemingly wanting to split his opponent into two. However, his Adam's apple once again transmitted a bone-piercing chill. The raised broadsword stopped. Just now he had clearly provoked his sword, so why was it like this again? I don't want to kill you. Please don't push your luck. Xian Ba said in a low voice. His pair of calm eyes emitted a ghostly aura, causing Chen Xuanzong's heart to turn cold. Just who is this person? The entire process was filled with exclamations of surprise. 2 attacks. 2 instant kills. This isn't luck, this is simply strength. Duanho looked at Xianba, who was in the middle of the stage, and the corner of her mouth curled up. This fellow is not bad. That's right. Fortunately, he didn't pick us. Jiang Yuanzhou muttered, acknowledging Xianba's strength. He didn't say anything, and he didn't want to say anything either. This competition was already filled with the smell of conspiracy. The 3 aristocratic families in the south were also discussing. These 2 youngsters are very strong. Without using their spiritual energy, we have to be careful. Morongji smiled. He didn't mind too much. Once they leave this place, there wouldn't be any rules anymore. The martial saint was the same. They are indeed powerful. In the future, when they grow up, they should be the main force of the south. Qi Shuwen was also surprised. His view towards Xianba changed again and again, and the trace of pure friendship in his eyes also slowly dissipated. The northerners were already speechless. In the first 2 rounds, they were suppressed by the southerners. How embarrassing. Chen Xuanzong, who was in the middle of the stage, breathed intensely. Actually, it doesn't matter if he loses his face in front of these people, but if he loses his face in front of Qingya, then he would really lose his face. I reckon that she is looking down on me right now. Throw down your weapons and surrender. Don't waste time. Xianba said faintly. Chen Xuanzong could be counted as a rational man. If not, he wouldn't have been able to reach the level of a demon emperor. Even though he knew that he wasn't a match for Xianba, he still wanted to continue fighting. Keeping his blade, Chen Xuanzong cupped his hands and returned to his seat. Everything was done in one go. As if he was a winner. Yu Quan appeared in the sky once again. North's Chen Xuanzong admits defeat, South's Xianba wins. Following Yu Quan's announcement of the result of the competition, the northerners sighed, while the southerners were in high spirits. Crazy Senior quietly left Xianba's body, and Xianba returned to his seat and stood beside Qi Shuwen. Brother Qi, how is it just now? Xianba is very formidable. He hid his strength very deeply. Although Qi Shuwen had a smile on his face, vigilance could be seen deep within his eyes. Xianba didn't seem to have noticed Qi Shuwen's vigilance as he held onto Qi Shuwen's shoulder and said with a smile, "Let's go and drink tonight." Hehe, all right. The competition was still continuing. After watching 2 matches, Yihua lost his interest. The first 2 matches were still worth watching, but the later matches were just like children's fights, not interesting at all. Thus, Yihua pulled Qingya and walked out of the martial arts stage. This scene was seen by Chen Xuanzong, and he clenched his fists tightly, seemingly feeling even worse than losing. Are you angry? Yihua pulled Qingya to the small forest at the side and asked faintly. Humph. Qingya snorted. The meaning behind her words was very clear. Shouldn't I be angry at you for making a mistake? This was a matter of principle. Yihua said gravely. I have already given you a lot of face by not killing that Chen Xuanzong. So, are you still going to be angry at me because of him? Qingya bit onto her lips. Yihua is too much of a bully. When did I get angry at you because of him? I got angry because you didn't believe me. Qingya immediately cried. Yihua thought that Qingya was angry because of Chen Xuanzong, but he didn't expect that it was actually like this. Seems like my lesson was wrong, and my understanding was also wrong. It's over. I suddenly felt a bit flustered. How should I coax him? That today's weather is pretty good, don't you think so, Qingya? Yihua said while stammering. I really don't know how to coax my wife. Qingya cried out in grievance. Being suspected of being unfaithful by her husband was a huge blow to Qingya. Chapter 545. Qingya pounded her chest with her small fists. Yihua, how can you doubt me like this? Yihua rubbed his wife's back and was speechless. All right, I'm jealous, all right? Yihua said helplessly. Coaxing my wife is really a technical job. It would be embarrassing if I don't have some special skills. We have been through so many things. Do you still not understand me? I am also slowly changing for you. Chinya said while choking with sobs. Actually, Chinya was also under a lot of pressure when she did that kind of thing. Yihua said lightly. And I know I am narrow-minded. You scoundrel, you only know how to bully me. When our son comes out, I will let our son teach you a lesson. You only know how to bully your mother. If he dares, I will smack his butt until it becomes swollen. Yihua said in disdain. Can't you just give in to me? Seriously. Yihua caressed Chinya's long hair. Alright, don't be angry anymore. If Ali sees you crying like this, your image will be ruined. It's all your fault. Chinya wiped away the tears on the corner of her eyes. Alright, it's all my fault. Looking at Yihua's helpless look, Chinya laughed. This is truly a man that I love and hate at the same time. I am going to fall into his hands for my entire life. Just by coaxing him like this, everything will be fine. Let's go back and rest first. I haven't had the chance to hug you properly these few days. Yihua hugged onto Chinya's waist and walked towards the bedroom. There is nothing more to see in this martial arts competition. As for that Chen Xuanzong who was peeking at them, I will find a chance to kill him in the future. How can you think about my woman? Chen Xuanzong was indeed peeking at them from afar. When he saw Chinya crying, his heart was about to bleed. However, when he saw that Long Outyin coaxing Chinya with sweet words, he felt even more upset. As expected, this Long Outyin is still the most flirtatious character. He will never change. Just you wait, Long Outyin. Sooner or later, I will take your life and let Chinya see your true face. Then, I will take advantage of the situation and get the beauty back. For the next 2 days, the competition was still going on. The South could be considered to have a complete victory, while the North was getting more and more depressed. Even the clan heads of the aristocratic families had lost the competition. What else could they do? They could only watch as the Southerners fought for the final fruit. The Northerners placed all of their resentment onto Voidless Realm. What North-South martial arts competition? This was originally only the matter of the Northerners. It's one thing for you to hold a Northern martial arts competition, but why did you have to call the Southerners to fight with your own people? This is completely biased. In the blink of an eye, it was the last day of the competition. It was a sunny day and the sky was clear. It was perfect for a family outing. Of course, it was like that for ordinary people, but for the North and South, it was a big day. The Southerners were fighting for the final ranking, while the Northerners were planning a shocking change. The atmosphere in the entire arena was very oppressive. This time, the number of casualties in the martial arts competition was not that exaggerated. Perhaps some people admitted defeat at the beginning, and everyone else admitted defeat because they could not beat them. This became the norm. The northern aristocratic families sitting below started to discuss in low voices. Yi Xiao, who was almost beaten into autism by Qi Shuwen, was also present. After all, they had something important to do today. This time, the queen has brought a total of 50 guards. It's not a lot, so we don't have to worry, Jiang Yuanzhou said in a low voice. Who's going to be the first one? Yi Xiao said faintly. Duan Ho said lightly, there's no need for us to do it. Those northerners' family heads will naturally not be able to hold themselves back from questioning them. Don't worry, everything has been arranged, we only need to move our lips. That's good then. Jiang Yuanzhou let out a breath. At this point, it was already too late to turn back. Chu He's expression was grave. I really want to report these unruly commoners. Meanwhile, on the viewing platform, there was only Donghuang Baiji and Yi Hua. Qingya and Donghuang Li were waiting in the bedroom. After all, the scene that was going to be a bit bloody later on was not something that could be seen by children. In actuality, Donghuang Li knew what her parents were trying to do. Donghuang Li appeared to be very obedient, and didn't make a fuss. Donghuang Li was either accompanying Qingya's mommy, or chatting with her unborn little brother. Yi Hua said faintly, Baiji, it seems like the top 3 are all from the Southerners. That's right, in the entire North, there is only one person who managed to enter the top 10. His luck is rather good. Donghuang Baiji was helpless. This is clearly a trap set up for me. There are a lot of people who intentionally lose. From the looks of it, all of them are preparing to rebel. This Qi Shuwen and Xianba are pretty good. Yi Hua said faintly while looking at Qi Shuwen and Xian Ba who were on the stage. Right now they were fighting for the first and second place. Dong Huang Baiji laughed lightly. That's right, the first and second place of the martial arts competition this time is actually not those family heads, but this little family head. You hit it well. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. Smart people aren't scary. What's scary are people who pretend to be stupid. After today, the North might be suppressed by the South. Dong Huang Baiji was a bit melancholic, and her tone was filled with helplessness. Yi Hua let out a mouthful of smoke and said faintly, "It isn't that easy to be an empress. Sometimes I really don't want to be an empress anymore." Soon. Dong Huang Baiji was a bit puzzled. What do you mean by soon? Yi Hua will eventually have to slaughter his way back to the south. That is the vast world. There is no need for me to be so restrained. On the stage, Qi Shuwen and Xian Ba were fighting in full swing, and Xian Ba was clearly having the upper hand. Seems like old Feng is indeed this valiant. Right now, Qi Shuwen felt one thing. The person in front of him isn't Xian Ba at all. Rather, he is more like an old man. Brother Qi, just admit defeat. Old Feng imitated Xian Ba's tone and said. Qi Shuwen was thinking about whether or not he should continue to overdraft his dragon Qi, but he felt that it wasn't worth it. The difference between the first and second place is 30 longevity fruits. Can these 30 longevity fruits be exchanged for those precious dragon Qi? It doesn't seem to be worth it. Thinking up to here, Qi Shuwen made a decision in his heart. He loosened his fist and cupped his hands, then said, "I admit defeat." After Qi Shuwen finished speaking, everyone in the south started applauding. Meanwhile, Yu Quan stood up and shouted, "The champion of the martial arts competition this time belongs to the South's Xian family's family head, Xian Ba." Yu Quan stood in the air and waved his hand, and Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard could be seen taking out the prizes. Longevity fruits. The longevity fruits were like bright red honey peaches, and were emitting out a delicious smell, causing everyone to salivate. And this Xian Ba had 100 longevity fruits. This is truly a lot. And this Qi Shuwen, he also had 70 longevity fruits. This time, all of the longevity fruits were divided up by the south. Looking at the delicious longevity fruits, the northerners couldn't sit still anymore, and seemed like they wanted to rush up and snatch the longevity fruits. And the south had already sensed it. Swords were already drawn on both sides. I refused to accept this. Chapter 546. Everyone was shocked by this outburst. The southern family heads thought that they were dissatisfied with the result, and immediately started to clamor. A bunch of trash. Can't you just say that you can't accept it after being beaten? You should just go home and hug your wives to sleep. That's right. He came out to embarrass himself. He can't afford to lose. I was wondering how powerful the northern family head was, but it turns out that he's just SOO. On the battlefield, Qi Shuwen and Xian Ba kept their fruits of victory and returned to the southerners' side. They didn't want the northerners to suddenly go berserk and kill them. I'm not convinced either. I'm not convinced either. The entire north was continuously shouting out their inner thoughts, and it had even turned into a chorus of shouting. Everyone's gazes were all looking towards Dong Huang Baiji, who was on the stage. At this moment, only then did the southerners know that the person they were unconvinced of was their own big shot, Voidless Realm. Sure enough, they still came. Ing Jingshan remained silent. Since his honor didn't say anything, I don't dare to act rashly either. The head of the northern aristocratic family laughed inwardly. Empress. Today is the day you step down. Dong Huang Baiji let out a light sigh. What is going to come will still come. This is something that cannot be avoided. Slowly standing up, Dong Huang Baiji shouted out lightly, "Who are you guys unconvinced with?" "Against Voidless Realm." "Voidless Realm. We won't accept Voidless Realm." The northern clan heads were very excited and shouted with flushed faces. Calling out to his queen in front of the southerners was not giving him any face at all. "Why don't you all accept me?" Dong Huang Baiji asked faintly. "The longevity fruit is clearly under your control, Empress. Why do you want the southerners to get involved? You are a big shot of the north, not a big shot of the south. One of the patriarchs questioned loudly. He knew how to lead the conversation. Following his shout, everyone nodded in agreement. Donghuang Baiji asked faintly, "What do you all want then?" "Since the Empress can't take care of our north, then we'll choose another big shot." As soon as these words came out, the entire audience was silent. The people of the south were dumbfounded. It seemed that these people were preparing to force the emperor to abdicate. Who gave them the courage to do this? Donghuang Baiji looked towards the aristocratic families in the north. "What do you all think?" Dongfang Yuan remained silent because she already knew what was going to happen next. She appeared very indifferent. However, the other four had gloomy expressions. At this point, there was no turning back. "Your Majesty, this big shot wants to protect the interests of the forces in the north, and your way of doing things is lacking consideration." Jiang Yuanzhou cupped his hands and said. At this time, Yi Xiao also stood up and said with a smile, "Your Majesty has worked hard these few years. Why don't you retreat to the city and enjoy life?" Chu He remained silent, feeling that something was amiss. The corner of Marshal Saint's mouth twitched. "We merely want the ancient godly artifact, while they are formidable enough to want the entire voidless realm." Yi Tian was also quite shocked. "That's right, the northern aristocratic families have quite the appetite." Duck. With of realm of. Donghuang Baiji swept her gaze across the entire northern powers. "You all want me to abdicate?" Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Majesty, the benefits of the north are the most important. This time, the entire north didn't get many longevity fruits, and they were all taken by the southerners. Our benefits were all given away by your Majesty." "Your Honor," Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "Your Honor," Duan Ho was still very respectful. "Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "That's right. Change to someone who can protect the benefits of the north." "Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor, Duan, Your Honor," Duan Ho said. "Ha ha ha ha." Everyone in the north laughed out loud. Donghuang Baiji took a deep breath, then said faintly, "Since you all insist on doing this, then let's vote. Those who want me to abdicate, stand on the stage." Yi Xiao and the others were delighted. Judging from the Empress's words, it seems like she is going to compromise. This is normal. Facing everyone's questioning, furthermore, it is a formal questioning. How can she be reasonable? The North began to make their choice, while the Southerners looked like they were watching a show. This is much more interesting than the martial arts competition. Not long later, the entire stage was filled with people. Only 20+ people were still sitting on the stage and did not move. Among them was Chen Xuanzong. Although he hated the men on the stage, he would not go against Voidless Realm, because Qingye was in Voidless Realm. Yi Xiao, Duan Ho, and Jiang Yuanzhou stood on the stage. Their intention was very clear. "Chu He, are you not coming?" Duan Ho looked at Chu He coldly and asked. Chu He remained silent and sat together with Dongfang Yuer. Yi Xiao snorted coldly. "Chu He, don't regret this." In the end, Chu He did not stand on the stage and chose to support his empress. Donghuang Baiji deeply wrinkled her brows. Although her face was calm, her heart was in turmoil. "I didn't expect that so many people would dare to go against me. This is truly disappointing. It turns out that a single longevity fruit is able to cause their selfishness. No wonder they had to hide it for so many years." Duan Ho cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, you have also seen it. This is the voice of all of the family heads in the north. We have no other choice." "Your Majesty, since things have come to this, please make a decision," Jiang Yuanzhou said gravely. Yi Xiao became even more arrogant as he slightly raised his head and shouted, "The North's big shot should be someone who is responsible, not someone who betrays the North's benefits. Isn't that right, everyone?" Yi family head is right. "Well said, we don't need this kind of big shot. We need a big shot that thinks for the North, not a big shot that provides convenience for the South. Since things have come to this point, it is more or less enough. Right now, it is up to the Empress to make a decision." Meanwhile, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards were still standing at the side, not moving at all. This gave people a false impression that the Empress seemed to be about to compromise. The Southerners began discussing in low voices, guessing if the Empress will abdicate. If the Empress doesn't abdicate, how is she going to resolve the anger of these people? Could it be that she is going to kill all of them? Imitate Ji family? It shouldn't be possible, right? This Empress shouldn't have that kind of courage. In the end, she is a woman. She isn't as firm as a man. I have been the Empress of Voidless Realm for many years, but this is the first time I have encountered such a situation. Perhaps you all think that I am a bit indecisive, but today, your performance let me know how to properly be an Empress. A layer of frost appeared on Dong Huang Baiji's face, and killing intent immediately emerged. Dong Huang Baiji clenched her fists. The ring on her hand emitted out a blue radiance that enveloped the entire martial arts stage. A bloody feast is about to arrive. Everyone turned pale with fright. What does this Empress mean? Is she crazy? Chapter 547. At this moment, the spectators on the tournament stage were a little flustered. This move of the Empress's was releasing a kind of bad news. However, what made everyone curious was that those Voidless Realm Imperial bodyguards still did not move at all. Just what is the meaning of this? The expressions of Yi Xiao, Duan Ho, and Jiang Yuanzhou turned ugly. What is the meaning of this, Empress? Is she preparing to kill all of us? Aren't you afraid of the world's criticism? Duan Ho stepped out of the line and pointed at the Empress. This kind of posture was very arrogant, and he did not take the Empress seriously at all. Yi Xiao shouted angrily, Empress, all the forces in the north are here today. Are you trying to copy the Ji family? Empress, if you dare to touch a single hair on us today, you will be ridiculed by everyone in the world. Jiang Yuanzhou also shouted. The northern clan leaders behind her also began to hoot, and even used filthy words to insult the Empress. That was because they had calculated that the Empress would not target them. If she continued to target them, their reputation would definitely take a devastating hit. The people on the southern side were also a little worried. If the Empress became angry and killed everyone, what would they do? But when he saw his big shot sitting there, he felt a little more at ease. Thankfully, the Ying family was here. Otherwise, he might have been scared *+ by now. Suddenly, Yi Hua, who had been sitting on the throne without moving, stood up and stood beside Dong Huang Baiji. Meanwhile, Dong Huang Baiji took a few steps back and stood at the side of her throne. Yi Hua sat down. Dong Huang Baiji simply stood beside Yi Hua. The actions of the two puzzled everyone present. What was the meaning of this? He didn't understand at all. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and took out a lighter. The clear and crisp sound of the cigarette being lit seemed to have ignited the fear in everyone's heart. Faint sparks were emitted from the cigarette butt, and a burst of green smoke slowly rose into the air. Yi Hua squinted his eyes and looked at everyone, then flicked away the cigarette ash. You all want to make my woman step down from the stage, but have you all asked for my opinion? Aren't you King the Queen's man? Who do you think you are? Someone in the crowd shouted in disdain. As for Chen Xuanzong, who was on the viewing platform, he looked as if he was watching a good show. This Long Outyin likes to put on an act as usual. Dong Huang Baiji's beautiful eyes turned cold, and the ring on her hand flashed with a red light. Bang! The man who had just been arrogant exploded into a mist of blood, and the hot blood drenched the bodies of the people around him. Such a move scared everyone. What was that thing on the Empress's finger? How could it have such terrifying power? Could it directly take someone's life? The southerner's scalp went numb. And the people on the tournament stage were even more so. The Empress's sudden change was a little hard for them to accept. Wasn't this a tyrant? It was completely unreasonable. Jiang Yuanzhou's face darkened, and he shouted, Your Majesty, what do you mean by this? How dare you kill an innocent northern family head? Are you still a big shot in the north? Dong Huang Baiji's ring flashed with a red light once again. Jiang Yuanzhou's expression changed drastically. He felt his body being pulled violently, and the spiritual energy in his body felt like it was about to explode. Bang! Jiang Yuanzhou's body exploded in an instant, just like the previous one. Yi Xiao and Duan Ho's bodies were covered in blood. Both of them were extremely shocked. This empress really dared to kill. No, this was a show of force, a warning to others. However, just what kind of ring was that? It was acceptable for it to instantly kill a small family head. But to instantly kill a family head of an aristocratic family. Just what kind of thing was that? Even Ing Jingshan was shocked by the ring on Dong Huangbaizhi's hand. If it was me, I would feel a chill on my back. Ing Kongshi, who was behind Dong Huangbaizhi, was very proud. That is my fiancé, formidable, right? I even met my fiancé in my dream last night, and had a lot of fun with her. Martial Sage and the other two were stupefied. Is this the strength of a big shot? This is completely unreasonable. Killing people is like killing chickens. Yi Hua took a deep breath. You all might not have realized it yet, but when I am talking, I don't like to be disturbed. Therefore, let me ask you all one more time. Were you all trying to kick my woman off the stage just now? A ray of cold light flashed past Yi Hua's eyes. These people sure have guts. So what if we did? We don't need a big shot who willfully kills the innocent. Empress, step down. Empress, step down. Empress, step down. Hearing those shouts, Yi Hua sneered. Then, I shall let you all see what it means to willfully kill the innocent. The ring on Dong Huangbaizhi's finger immediately let out a green light. 50 people could be seen walking out of the tournament stage. From their expressions, it could be seen that they were being controlled. What are you doing? Let go of me. Damned woman, let go of me. I don't want to play anymore. I don't dare to, let go of me. The 50 people could be seen slowly walking to the bottom of the tournament stage and kneeling on the ground in an orderly manner. Right at this moment, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard finally moved. With heavy steps, the Imperial Guard walked towards the 50 people and stood beside the 50 people in an orderly manner. A person was kneeling on the ground and stretching out his head, and there was also an Imperial Guard who was wielding a blade standing beside the person. The faces of the Southerners were filled with fear, and they felt that even their breathing was a bit rough. Meanwhile, Martial Sage and the others gulped down their saliva. This is going to be a purge that comes from the Empress. The sky that was originally clear and boundless was already covered by dark clouds. The gloomy weather made the entire tournament stage even more oppressive, making it hard for everyone to breathe. The 50 family heads that were kneeling on the ground felt that the person beside them wanted to raise his head and look, but his body was not in his control. Yi Hua let out a mouthful of smoke and said faintly, "Since you all want to willfully kill the innocent, I shall give it to you all." Along with Yi Hua's hand moving, Voidless Realm's Imperial Guard immediately pulled out the blade in his hand. Clang! The blade and the scabbard let out a heavy metallic sound, and the body of the blade flickered with a white cold light. The expressions of the 50 Imperial Guards were calm. When they dared to rebel against Voidless Realm, it was already a capital offense. Swish! Neat and uniform movements. 50 heads rolled onto the ground, and 50 corpses fell onto the ground. A large amount of blood sprayed out, and a scarlet-red liquid instantly flowed onto the ground. Some of the corpses were even struggling powerlessly. Such a scene stunned everyone. Not only the Northerners, even the Southerners revealed a frightened expression. This Empress is so ruthless. She killed them just like that. I'm afraid that after today, she will become a blood empress. Looking at those corpses, everyone on the tournament stage felt that their legs were going numb, and their lips were trembling. They wanted to run, but they were unable to muster up any strength. Yi Xiao and Empress Duan were stupefied. The scariest thing still happened in the end. This Empress really dared to kill. Yi Hua slightly leaned onto the throne, took a deep breath, and took a puff of the cigarette. Then he flicked away the cigarette butt, and the faint flame drew an arc in the air, then fell onto the pool of blood and extinguished. Chapter 548. Domineering. Xianba shouted, his eyes filled with worship. This was a real man. Qi Shuwen, who was at the side, was also looking at Yi Hua, and it was as if his view of the world had been refreshed. No wonder Yi Hua was able to obtain the favor of the Empress and heroine. Just based on what Yi Hua said just now, no woman would be able to resist him. As the sect master of Cloud Sect, Wu Hao didn't seem to be thinking about anything else anymore. This man wasn't someone he could surpass. No matter how hard he tried, he wouldn't be able to learn such a grand and imposing manner. He couldn't even learn to speak in a low tone. He was too manly. Chen Xuanzong went into a daze for a moment. This Long Outyan is too good at acting. Qingye must have been deceived by him like this. He was just a pretty boy, and this empress actually appeared for him. Ing Jingshan's heart was also endlessly shaken. For his honor to be able to say such words with that imposing body of his. This is truly unprecedented. Ing Jingshan can only look up to his honor's majestic bearing and worship his honor's feet. Behind him, Ing Kongsher clenched his fists tightly. One day he would also be able to do this. At that time, the empress would definitely fall in love with him. Just thinking about it made him feel slightly excited. While the people from the south were exclaiming in admiration at Yi Hua's toughness, they were also frightened by his iron-blooded methods. That scarlet red blood caused people to tremble with fear, and there were also those heads that had their eyes wide open, seemingly not daring to believe such a reality. Murongji muttered, "The world has changed." That's right, the cultivation world is going to change. Looking at those headless corpses and those voidless realms' imperial bodyguards, the martial saint gulped. Yi Tian was speechless. His entire body was numb. At this time, Yu Quan appeared in the void again and shouted coldly. The northern family heads offended their superiors and were openly disrespectful to Her Majesty, forcing Her Majesty to abdicate in order to achieve their goal of usurping the throne. Their crimes are unpardonable, and the heavens have no pity for them. They shall be sentenced to death. Following Yu Quan's announcement, the entire hall fell into silence once again. Oh, death penalty? The Southerners were astonished. With this slash, the entire northern power would decline, just like the South. Donghuang Baiji, you have no right to condemn us. Everyone resist. Yi Xiao roared with all his might. His handsome face became distorted and terrifying. Duan Ho even had the intention to sink the boat and break the cauldron, and she shouted out, Donghuang Baiji. Right now, Donghuang Baiji appeared to be very calm, and it was basically impossible to see the waves that were surging within her heart. As she clenched her hand, the ring on her hand started emitting out orange light. Something terrifying happened. The more than 400 people in the arena let out terrified screams, like the wails of ghosts and the howls of wolves. It was extremely miserable. The sky darkened, and a series of rumbling sounds rang out, adding to the terrifying atmosphere. What is that thing? Their spiritual chi has been sucked out. How is this possible? How is this possible? It can actually extract the spiritual energy from a person's body. Waves of white spiritual energy floated out of everyone's body, including Yi Xiao and Duan Ho. The extraction of spiritual energy was no less painful than grinding their bones, and it was even more painful than death. Originally, Donghuang Baiji had planned to give them a quick death. However, she didn't expect that they would still dare to continue to rebel against Donghuang Baiji and destroy the last bit of benevolence that Donghuang Baiji had shown to Donghuang Baiji. From now on, Donghuang Baiji became even more cruel and merciless, to the point where people even gave Donghuang Baiji a resounding title, Goddess of Despair. The miserable screams continued, and a large amount of white spiritual energy gathered in the air. Following Donghuang Baiji's snap, the large amount of spiritual energy dissipated into the air and entered the clouds. Raindrops slowly fell from the sky, drenching everyone's body. Everyone's body was already feeling cold, and when the raindrops landed on their body, they felt even colder, as if their entire body was going to be frozen. The more than 400 people in the arena had their spiritual energy extracted, and right now, they were no different from ordinary people. They were gasping for breath, and fear could be seen within their eyes. The heavy rain had drenched their clothes, and when the raindrops dripped onto their frightened faces, they were completely frightened to the point that they couldn't even speak. Continue. Donghuang Baiji shouted out coldly. Blood Empress wasn't someone who would randomly call out. Yi Hua was very satisfied with Baiji's attitude. After this incident, the benevolence in my heart will be extinguished. This is a good start. The rain became heavier and heavier, and the pool of blood on the ground formed a small scarlet-red pond. The scene was terrifying and made everyone feel despair. This time, Donghuang Baiji didn't use her ring to control the people in the arena. "No. Your Majesty, please spare me. I know that I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. I didn't do it on purpose. Please spare me this time. I miss my wife and child. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. Your Majesty, my wife just gave birth to a child. I still haven't seen my child. Please don't kill me." The people who were being escorted by the guards began begging in despair, and there were even a few whose legs had already turned soft. However, they were still dragged away by the guards, then forced to kneel beside the corpses. Fear and panic could be seen on the faces of the family heads who had their spiritual energy extracted, especially when they saw the corpses that were lying in the pool of blood, because they knew that they would be the same later on. When the family heads who were lucky enough to survive saw this scene, they felt that they were really lucky. "It is fortunate that I didn't rebel with them. If not, I would have become one of the corpses as well." Thinking about this, Chuhi felt a lingering fear. "God bless my Chu family." Hua, hua, hua. The heavy rain fell onto the ground, and the entire arena was silent as everyone looked at the 50 people who were kneeling on the ground. Donghuang Baiji waved her hand. Clang. The sound of blades could be heard once again. The rainwater fell onto the blades, washing away the bloodstains on the blades, making the blades look even sharper. Not a single one of Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards showed any mercy. The rainwater flowed past their resolute faces. "Kill!" Donghuang Baiji shouted out lightly. "Your Majesty, please spare me. Your Majesty, please don't kill me. Who can save me? I don't want to die. I really don't want to die." The guards waved their blades in unison, and a silver light flashed. The entire world became silent, and only the sound of raindrops could be heard. Below the stage, it was already a sea of blood, and the blood even submerged the boots of the Imperial Guards. Meanwhile, Donghuang Baiji, who was wearing a gorgeous purple gown and golden crown, looked at the scene indifferently. "Continue." The sounds of begging for mercy resonated throughout the entire arena, and the people on the stage were crying and shouting, begging the heavens for mercy. They don't want to die. Can't the heavens forgive their crimes? The heavy rain didn't seem to have any intention of stopping, and on the contrary, it was getting heavier and heavier, causing everyone's line of sight to become wet. It was as if even the heavens were feeling sorrow and crying because of this scene, but they were powerless to do anything. Batch after batch of people were being escorted below the stage, and received the most severe punishment. There wasn't any mercy at all. Blades flashed time and time again, and the corpses piled up higher and higher, and the heads of the corpses were already submerged in blood. Chapter 549. Looking at the Empress on the stage, as well as the man on the throne, everyone's mood became very heavy, because the two of them were too calm to the point that it was frightening. Could it be that all the pity in their hearts disappeared? The number of people on the stage became fewer and fewer, and some of them even fainted from fear. However, in the end, they still couldn't escape from death. Until only Yi Xiao and Duan Ho, the two family heads, were left. Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards spread out to guard the surroundings. Their silvery white armor was stained with blood, and it wouldn't be washed away by the heavy rain so quickly. Donghuang Baiji looked at everything coldly. Voidless Realm's authority cannot be violated by anyone. Duan Ho suddenly laughed lightly, then laughed loudly. "Voidless Realm's authority, haha. I'm going to die from laughter. Why didn't you mention authority during the Dongfang family's tragedy back then? Chuhi, do you think that you can hide from it? Back then, we framed Dongfang family together." Dongfang Yuan, who had been silent the entire time, was moved, and a layer of tears appeared on her beautiful eyes. They finally admitted it. "As for Donghuang Baiji, your father killed all of the men in Dongfang family, so what if he knows that Dongfang family is innocent? What authority? It's all bullshit." Chuhi turned pale with fright. "I didn't expect that Duan Ho would drag me down with her before death." He hurriedly knelt on the ground and shouted, "Your Majesty, please spare me." "Chuhi, just now, how many people begged for mercy? and all of them became headless corpses? Do you think that Donghuang Baiji will spare your life? She is a demon. Haha. Donghuang Baiji, you will suffer retribution. You killed so many people. Just wait for the gods to descend. They will exterminate your voidless realm. Ha ha ha. Yi Xiao had already completely gone mad, and even his speech seemed incoherent. Duan Ho laughed loudly as well. That's right, I Duan Ho. Request the gods to descend and execute this damn Donghuang Baiji. At this moment, a golden ray of light descended from the sky. The heavy rain instantly stopped, the dark clouds dispersed, and the warm sun illuminated the ground once again. This situation caused everyone to be stunned. Did the request really come? Oh God, that's a godlike existence. Even Ing Jingshan seemed very excited and he stood up. Within the golden ray of light, 3 figures could faintly be seen. This allowed Yi Xiao and Duan Ho to see their final hope. A deity has descended, and what is waiting for Voidless Realm is the most severe punishment. The two sneered in their hearts. Punishment? Now it should be your turn, Donghuang Baiji. A wave of godly might was released, and everyone could feel it. It's really the descent of a deity. Ing Jingshan was dumbfounded. He immediately knelt down and kowtowed to the golden radiance. Following Ing Jingshan's action, the people from both sides respectfully knelt down and kowtowed to the golden radiance. Even the big shots of the Ying family had knelt down. What reason did they have not to? However, Yi Hua and Donghuang Baiji were still calmly looking at the scene. Gradually, the golden light dissipated. 3 figures appeared in the middle of the arena. The one who stood in front of the group was a woman. She was wearing a pure white dress, and her long hair was draped over her shoulders. Her skin was as exquisite as white jade, and she was so beautiful that her entire body was emitting a coquettish aura. There was nothing that could be done about it. Recently, she had been nourished by a man, and her entire face was glowing. The green and red brothers were standing behind him. They were wearing green and red robes, and their hair was tied up to their waists. They looked very stylish. Because Yi Hua knew that the 3 of them would pray to the heavens, I shall bestow them with hope. Everyone at the scene looked at the 3 people who had suddenly appeared and gulped. Were these gods? That woman is so beautiful, and there's also the one behind her. Are gods so fashionable as well? They even dyed their hair. Forget it. Let's ignore these details. These are gods we are talking about. During these 2 days, not only did I see big shots, I even saw a god. I should be satisfied for the rest of my life. Qi Shuwen said in a low voice. So these are gods? They are so powerful. That's right, this godly might is making it hard for me to breathe. Xian Ba looked at the 3 people at the scene with a frightened expression on his face. Martial Saint and the others also obediently knelt down and kowtowed. As expected of a god, the godly might that is being emitted from them is actually able to cause people to feel fear in their hearts. That high and mighty aura seems to be able to dictate everything. Zishan was originally a god, and it was very easy for her to release her godly might. Lord God, save us. Yi Xiao immediately knelt down and crawled to the front of Zishan, then kowtowed with all his might. A blood stain immediately appeared on Zishan's forehead. Duan Ho was the same as well. While kowtowing, the veil that Zishan was wearing fell off, and everyone saw Duan Ho's face. Compared to the high and mighty god, Zishan's face is simply, Duan Ho shouted out. Lord God! Donghuang Baiji killed the innocent, and tried to disturb the world. Look at these corpses. They were all killed by that damned slut. Lord God, please give us justice. Lord God, this Donghuang Baiji is inhumane. She robbed us of our spiritual energy and killed countless innocent people. Lord God, please choose someone else. Even now, Yi Xiao was still unwilling to give up. Even if he has to die, he still wants to kick Donghuang Baiji out of power. After hearing what Yi Xiao said, Zishan didn't pay any attention to Yi Xiao. Along with the 2 actors behind her, Zishan walked forward. Looking at this scene, everyone's heartbeat quickened, and their bodies trembled from nervousness. Will Voidless Realm fight with a god? It is obviously impossible. From the looks of it, the Empress is going to suffer a calamity today. After all, how can the entire Voidless Realm be a god's opponent? From the looks of it, the Empress is going to take action against Voidless Realm. The Empress is going to be out of luck, and that man is going to be out of luck as well. After provoking a person like a god, there is basically no chance for one to survive. What a pity! What a pity! Facing such a shocking change in the situation, everyone silently mourned for Voidless Realm. After all, no matter how strong Voidless Realm is, it is impossible for them to be stronger than a god. Even if only 3 gods came, they would still be able to exterminate Voidless Realm. From the looks of it, the Empress has kicked an iron board. Subordinate pays respect to your majesty. Following Zishan's shout, the 3 people kneeled down towards Donghuang Baiji. Right now, everyone was stupefied. Is this an auditory hallucination? Or is it an auditory hallucination? A god is actually kneeling down in front of the Empress, and he even called himself subordinate. How is this possible? This is a god, an existence that is even stronger than a big shot. Why is a god kneeling down in front of the Empress? This is impossible. Yi Xiao and Duan Ho were stupefied. The 2 looked at the kneeling god blankly and found it hard to believe. Even in death, I won't believe that a god is kneeling down to Donghuang Baiji. Hallucination. This is definitely a hallucination. Everything is fake. Everything is fake. Ing Jingshan was also stupefied. However, when he thought about the strength of a supreme overlord, he felt at ease. Only Ing Jingshan felt at ease. The others were all unable to digest this kind of information. This is a terrifying god. Chapter 550. Donghuang Baiji slightly raised her hand, and Zishan and the others stood up and respectfully waited for her orders. This kind of attitude of Voidless Realms caused a chill to run down one's spine. This Voidless Realm is already so big that it can drive people crazy. Even the gods had to bow their heads in submission. Xianba hurriedly asked his master, "Master, is this really a god?" "Judging from his aura, he is indeed a god," Elder Feng said calmly. "Master, why are you so calm?" "Because I am also a god." Xianba's jaw dropped. He didn't expect his master to be so powerful, and he didn't expect to have a god as his master. Yi Xiao and Duan He went crazy. They thought that a deity would come and save them, and they even thought that a deity would eliminate Voidless Realm. However, never in their wildest dreams would they have thought that even deities were Voidless Realm's subordinates. This kind of fact was something that the 2 of them were unable to accept. Immediately, the 2 of them pointed at Donghuang Baiji and cursed at her loudly. LV Liang and Yi Hong's figures flashed and instantly returned to their original positions. Their speed was so fast that people thought they hadn't moved at all. However, Yi Xiao and Duan Ho's heads rolled on the stage. Even in death, they refused to believe that this was real. Everyone in the south gasped for breath. Even the deities are standing on Voidless Realm's side. Just thinking about how they were threatening Voidless Realm just a while ago, Voidless Realm's legs became numb from fear. Voidless Realm wouldn't kill us all in one go, right? It felt like even the Ying family couldn't save them now. Donghuang Baiji's gaze looked towards Chu He, who was kneeling at the side. The latter felt the Empress's gaze and lowered his head. "Chu He, seeing that you have reflected on your actions in time, I will be lenient in your punishment. I will strip you of your aristocratic family title and cripple your cultivation," Donghuang Baiji said coldly. Chu He rejoiced in his heart. Today he finally managed to get his worthless life back. He hurriedly kowtowed in thanks. "Thank you, Your Majesty, for not killing me. There's no need for Your Majesty to make a move." Chu He clenched his fists and ruthlessly struck his dantian, scattering the gathered spiritual energy. From then on, he would become an ordinary person, unable to gather spiritual energy. Donghuang Baiji shifted her gaze away and looked at the remaining people from the north. The latter hurriedly knelt down and shouted, "Your Majesty is wise." Donghuang Baiji then looked at everyone in the south. "Empress is wise." All the southern family patriarchs shouted in unison. Donghuang Baiji sighed in her heart. Sure enough, only an iron-blooded method would be able to achieve such an effect. I have killed so many people and I am no different from Ji family. However, the main point is that they are still shouting about how wise they are. Firstly, she was in the right. Usually, when one tried to usurp the throne, the other would die, so she was in the right to kill him. More importantly, she had a powerful husband like Yi Hua. No one would dare to provoke her. Yi Hua stood up and hugged onto Dong Huangbaiji's willowy waist in front of everyone. Speaking of which, I can only use my wife to act cool. Such a powerful woman is something that only I can enjoy. Are you all jealous of me or not? Disperse. Yi Hua shouted lightly, then disappeared from the stage along with Dong Huangbaiji. Zishan and the other two also disappeared from the stage. However, Yi Hua still passed a secret message to Ing Jingshan. After receiving his honor's order, Ing Jingshan didn't dare to say anything, and all he had to do was to follow his honor's order. Following the departure of Yi Hua and Dong Huangbaiji, the pressure on the entire martial arts stage immediately decreased, and everyone let out a sigh of relief. The Empress is still very rational. She only killed those traitors and not the innocent. My fiancé left, and she didn't even take a single look at me. However, it doesn't matter. When I become stronger in the future, I will naturally be able to gain the Empress's attention. Looking at Yi Hua's actions, Chen Xuanzong felt indignant for Qingya. Just you wait. I was scared to death. I thought that I was going to die. Xian Ba patted on his chest. Just now, he was scared to the point that he almost peed in his pants. Qi Shuwen was the same as well. All of the news that he heard today was too shocking. Voidless Realm is already so powerful that even the gods have to hug onto their thighs. Everyone was thinking about the same question. Just whose thighs are the gods hugging onto? However, judging from the performance just now, it should be Dong Huangbaiji's thighs. Furthermore, Dong Huangbaiji's ring is so powerful. As for Dong Huangbaiji's man, it can only be said that he is too lucky to have such a powerful wife. I am truly envious, jealous, and hateful. Why didn't such a good thing happen to me? It is very honorable to be the Empress's gigolo. I don't make a fool out of myself at all. Looking at the corpses that filled the ground, everyone couldn't help but shiver. This is too savage. Voidless Realm's Imperial Guards began cleaning up the corpses, while the people from the south also left one after another. The people from the south couldn't help but wish that they could announce to the whole world what happened today. Of course, the content of the announcement was only praising the Empress for suppressing the traitor. And what massacre, nothing like that. The Empress did right. People like that should be killed. What's the point of keeping them alive? Before everyone left, Ing Jingshan called the three family heads to the tavern that they were staying at to discuss some matters. The three family heads were a bit surprised, but they still went to the tavern and sat on the wooden chairs obediently while looking at Ing Jingshan. Ing Jingshan wasn't in a hurry as he slowly drank his tea. After closing the lid of the cup, Ing Jingshan said lightly, "You all should have seen what happened today. Although the North suffered a disastrous loss, Voidless Realm's strength is beyond our imagination." Marshal Saint nodded his head, then cupped his hands and said, "Ing family head, although Voidless Realm's foundation is strong, our South's potential is still very big." That's right, this time, Xian Ba and Qi Shuwen's performance was too sudden. I feel that we should focus on nurturing them. Etian echoed. After a few years, when the ancient godly item appears, it is only natural for the two of them to replace the positions of aristocratic families. Murongji's expression was very serious, seemingly as if he was discussing the South's future. Ing Jingshan took a deep breath, then said faintly, "Seems like you all didn't understand what I meant." After hearing what Ing Jingshan said, the three were very puzzled. Did I say something wrong? I didn't feel wrong at all. Voidless Realm is indeed very powerful, but we aren't that bad either. Murongji cupped his hands and said confusedly, "Ing family head, we will definitely train hard and strive to bring glory to the South." Ing Jingshan let out a light sigh, then shook his head and said, "There are some things that can't be achieved just by working hard, because no matter how hard you work, you will never be able to surpass the other party." This time, the three family heads understood what Ing Jingshan meant. Ing family head was a bit discouraged. Seeing how powerful Voidless Realm was, he felt a sense of powerlessness. Thinking about it, Voidless Realm is able to order gods around. Just based on this point alone, Ing family has fallen behind a lot. It was only right for Ing family head to receive a blow. Ing family head, as long as we, the South, work together, we will still be able to fight against the North. He Tian felt that he should be cheering for Ing family head. You are the only big shot in the South right now, and you are going to lead us to glory. Ing Jingshan smiled helplessly. You all still don't understand what I meant. The three family heads were stupefied. Just what do I mean? Chapter 551. Upon hearing those words, Marshal Saint He Tian and Murongji's expressions stiffened, and Marshal Saint said emotionally, Ing family's leader, you must not do that. You are a big shot of the South. If you really do that, the South's face. Marshal Saint hurriedly swallowed back the words that he was about to say. As for He Tian and Murongji, their faces were also filled with anticipation. They hoped that Ing Jingshan would dispel this terrifying idea. Slowly putting down the teacup, Ing Jingshan chuckled. Maybe you guys still don't know this, but I've already submitted to you a long time ago. The three of them couldn't help but hold their breaths. Their entire bodies stiffened as if they'd been struck by lightning, and their minds rumbled. I had already bowed down to them a long time ago. A big shot from the South actually submitted to Voidless Realm. If such a news were to be spread out, the entire cultivation world would be shaken. In that case, doesn't Voidless Realm have the final say in the entire cultivation world? Ing family's clan head, you. How can you submit to Voidless Realm? He Tian asked in disbelief. A big shot actually submitted to another big shot. Unbelievable. Ing Jingshan laughed lightly. Who told you that I submitted to Voidless Realm? This time, the three of them were really dumbfounded. Are you joking? Suddenly, Ing Jingshan stood up with a fanatical look on his face. It was as if he could do anything for the sake of this fanatical look. I serve the great Supreme Sovereign. I will use my life to serve the mighty Supreme Sovereign. I will become a servant at the feet of the Supreme Sovereign. What a grand ambition! Ing Jingshan closed his eyes and shouted out these impassioned words. He seemed to be enjoying this moment very much. He was completely immersed in the service and was unable to extricate himself. The minds of the Marshal Saint and the other two went blank. Was this big shot crazy? Why did another supreme being jump out? Were they going to put on a show? Ing family's clan leader. Who is this supreme being you speak of? Murongji's expression was dark, and he asked curiously, because he felt that it was very dangerous. Ing Jingshan slowly opened his eyes, and his gaze turned cold. Of course he is Empress's husband. Do you think a woman can come up with such a big plan? The three of them were shocked and immediately thought of that man. His eyes were filled with shock and disbelief. He Tian gulped. How far has the Ing family's clan leader gone? A wave of killing intent gushed forth from Ing Jingshan as he slapped the air, sending He Tian flying. You deserve to die for being disrespectful to his honor. Ing Jingshan shouted coldly. After He Tian fell to the ground, he never got up again. Ing Jingshan had killed He Tian with a single slap. The martial sage and Murongji did not dare to move at all, because how could they possibly be a match for the giants? Killing them would be as easy as killing chickens. Ing Jingshan took a deep breath. As a subordinate of the Supreme Overlord, I didn't even have the chance to properly pay my respects these past few days. I really deserve to die. Oh, that's not right. I'm not a subordinate of the Supreme Honorable yet, but I will strive to be one and serve the great Supreme Honorable well. Looking at Ing Jingshan's passionate expression, Marshal Saint and Murongji panicked. Ing Jingshan is practically worshipping Ing Jingshan to the extreme, and he is even worrying about being Ing Jingshan's lackey. It seemed that this Ing Jingshan was not even considered as that man's underling. Ing Jingshan laughed. Do you think I'm crazy? That's because you don't know anything about Supreme Overlords. From the moment the 9 Demons Punishing Tower appeared, the entire cultivation world was already under the control of Supreme Overlords. Ing Jingshan's words caused the two to tremble all over. If that's the case, that terrifying black robe is his subordinate. The battle between me and Voidless Realm was also planned by Supreme Overlord. Do you know why Ji family killed so many people? That was all planned by Supreme Overlord. Do you know who was the one who exterminated Ji family? Do you know the true meaning of the martial arts competition this time? Do you know why deities acted like that just now? That was all because of the great supreme overlord. These words rumbled within Martial Saint and Murongji's mind. It turns out that we have always been someone else's chess piece, and all of our reliance was in vain. Even a giant doesn't have the qualifications to be a lackey. Are we going to die as well? Murongji was in despair. The person that I relied on actually wants to kill me. This is the coldness that comes from the abyss. Jingshan laughed. To be able to die under the command of Supreme Overlord, the two of you have not lived your lives in vain. Martial Saint and Murongji didn't even have the slightest chance to resist, and both of them collapsed onto the wooden chairs. Of course, being able to complete the mission that His Honor gave me, I feel honored as well. Rest assured, His Honor only wants your lives, nothing will happen to your families. In the future, leave the matters in the south to those juniors, they might be the next two of you. A trace of a vicious smile appeared on the corner of Jingshan's mouth. Without giving the two of them the slightest chance, Jingshan instantly killed them, then kept their ancient godly items. After finishing all these, Jingshan laughed. Guards! Family head. Family guard shouted out respectfully. Deal with the corpses of the three of them, in a few days, just say that they were killed by that group of people. Make sure to shift the blame to them properly, understand? Yes. Jingshan nodded his head, then picked up the teacup on the table and drank it in one gulp, then walked out of the tavern. All of the family heads in the south had fallen. This situation was pretty much the same as the north. Right now, there was only Dongfang family left in the north, and the family head was even Dongfang Yu, or who was bullied. Following the end of the martial arts competition, a storm swept through the entire cultivation world once again. The family heads of the north rebelled, and attempted to seize the throne. However, under the bravery of the Empress, those bad guys did not succeed, and the Empress even gave them a few chances. In order to maintain her own safety, the Empress killed all of the rebels, and only then did the rebellion was averted. All of the news was beneficial to Voidless Realm, and the Empress even shouted that those people deserved to die for actually wanting to seize the throne. Fortunately, the Empress was wise. If not, those trash would have succeeded. Everyone gave the Empress a thumbs up. However, those who were in the know all knew that the Empress was a blood Empress. Furthermore, during this process, the appearance of the deities was not mentioned at all. Right now, the public opinion was completely in Yihua's hands. And after going through the baptism this time, no one dared to be disrespectful towards the Blood Empress. Because this was the Blood Empress that killed without batting an eyelid. And if anyone were to touch her, that person would die without a burial ground. However, in just a few days, the news of the death of all of the family heads of the South's family spread out, and once again, the entire cultivation world was shaken. The murderer was pointed at the group of people who exterminated Tang family, and no one dared to suspect Voidless Realm anymore. Because no one dared to suspect Voidless Realm. Even if they knew, they wouldn't dare to not say it out. This was the rule of Iron and Blood. No one dared to suspect Voidless Realm. At Wang family's house in Gaohai City, a few people were currently sitting at the table, and on the table, there were at least 3 KFC family buckets. Burp. Wang Debao, who was drinking cola, couldn't help but burp. Burp. Qing Tian burped as well. Chapter 552. This fried chicken is so F***king delicious, and it tastes so good when paired with cola. Wife, don't you think so? Wang Debao said casually. Right now the whole team's harmony was pretty good, and they were talking and laughing. Bai Cixin had a helpless look on her face. My husband is like a child sometimes. Be more serious. Brother Wang. This is called being straightforward. Qing Tian patted Wang Debao's shoulder. Wang Debao smiled and said, Wife, do you see that? Brother Qing understands me so well. Then you go with your brother Qing, don't look for me. Bai Cixin snorted. Brother Qing? Those who don't understand would think that you are called Brother Qing. Sister-in-law is angry, quickly go and coax her. Qing Tian laughed loudly, then picked up a napkin and wiped his hands. After getting rid of the family bucket on the table, Everyone's expression became serious. Recently, our reputation has been rising, and we have been made a lot of scapegoats. Feng Di said with a gloomy face. Feng Di snorted coldly. We are even made a scapegoat for the death of an aristocratic family's family head. This is really interesting. This is a complete reshuffle. Right now, the only aristocratic family left in the north and the south is Dongfang family. And it's a woman who doesn't have any fighting strength. Bai Cixin snorted. She feels that this is too unfair. They are both women, so why is that Dongfang you are the family head? Wang Debao sighed and said helplessly. Right now, Voidless Realm can cover the sky with one hand. What else can we do? What we need is a battle. Qing Tian laughed lightly, and a folded napkin was placed in front of him. Everyone was confused. Voidless Realm or gods, in layman's terms, strength is everything. A new year is coming, and we are going to become the saviors of the world. Giants? In the end, it's a title given by humans. Can't we title ourselves? Voidless Realm has a reason to kill people. But will they kill a person who saved the cultivation world? Hearing Qing Tian's words, Bai Cixin finally understood. Since we have a reputation, we can also snatch things, so why not? I'm only interested in treasures. I'm not interested in anything else. Feng Di said lightly. However, what Bai Cixin needed was a reputation, so it wasn't a conflict. As for what Qing Tian wanted, no one knew. Qing Tian stood up and clapped his hands. Let's go out and welcome the dark year together. Wanda Plaza in Long'an City. Yi Hua was currently hugging onto Ali, and his two wives were snuggling up to him while looking at the countdown timer on the big screen. Dong Huangli's big eyes looked at the screen excitedly, and she couldn't help but start counting down with everyone. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom, boom, boom. Magnificent fireworks erupted from the skyscraper, mesmerizing everyone. Cheers suddenly rang out as the people in the square celebrated the arrival of the new year. Daddy Mommy, Happy Chinese New Year. This was the first time that Dong Huangli was celebrating Chinese New Year together with her daddy and mommy. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were very happy as well. This kind of life was rather comfortable, and they were able to stay away from those disputes. However, sometimes, those disputes would come looking for you. There was nothing they could do about it. Daddy Mommy, won't you kiss Ali? Dong Huangli said pitifully. This little fellow sure knows how to act cute. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji sat on one side of Baiji and kissed Baiji's chubby cheeks. This caused little Ali to be extremely happy. Where's daddy's? Yi Hua helplessly kissed onto his daughter's forehead, while Dong Huangli happily kissed onto her father's cheek. This truly is a warm moment. The family of four ate all kinds of snacks, then walked back home. After Dong Huangli got over her excitement, she laid onto her father's embrace and slept soundly. On the spacious and empty street, there would be groups of youngsters walking past from time to time, bringing along a joyous atmosphere. Do we have any goals for this year? Yi Hua asked curiously while carrying on to his daughter. Right now, Donghuang Baiji was no longer the blood queen. She was now a little woman. Eat and drink well, a family of 4, no a family of 6. After finished speaking, Donghuang Baiji rubbed onto her stomach. Qingye said, Yi Hua, your burden right now is very heavy. You need to earn more money to support your wife and children. I heard that working at the construction site is pretty good. You can earn a few hundred a day. It is enough for our family's expenses. Daddy, are you going to work at the construction site? Ali is going to help Daddy carry the bricks too. Dong Huangli said drowsily, then went back to sleep. Yi Hua shook his head helplessly. I will stay at home to take care of the children. The two of you can go out and work. Yi Hua, how can you be like this? Other people's husbands are the ones who support their wives. The two wives immediately started acting coquettishly. In actuality, Dong Huangli was just pretending to sleep. If not, Daddy and Mommy wouldn't be saying such mushy words. Ali felt goosebumps all over her body, especially when she heard Mommy acting coquettishly. The strict image of Mommy in her heart was completely toppled. From the looks of it, only Daddy is able to train Mommy to be obedient. Hee, outstanding men don't need to work, Yi Hua said proudly. Qingye was already convinced by Yi Hua's twisted logic. Donghuang Baiji still hadn't gotten used to it. Do you have the heart to let your pregnant wife go out and work? I am very at ease. Who would dare to provoke you too? You. He. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji still didn't know of Yihua's personality. If he could stay at home, he definitely wouldn't go out. No matter if he was in Voidless Realm or here, it would be the same. However, this is also good. At least we won't have to worry about Yihua going out to flirt with other women and finding trouble for ourselves. It will be New Year's in February, right? Yihua said faintly. When I just arrived here, I completely didn't know what New Year's was for. However, since everyone is celebrating New Year's, I can't just not celebrate it, right? Thus, I spent the past few years with Wei Chang and Lai Gu, that dog. It was cold and cheerless, completely devoid of any atmosphere. After simply eating dinner, I would go back to my room to sleep. There was no meaning to celebrating New Year's at all. I didn't even watch the Spring Festival Gala. And when Yihua saw other people's families being together, he felt very gloomy. That's right, I am about to give birth. Qingye rubbed onto her round tummy, and a motherly radiance could be seen on her pretty face. Donghuang Baiji smiled. Then let me congratulate you on becoming a mother first. Same to you too, Qingye said jokingly. I was discussing New Year's matters with you too. Why did you two start talking about children? Yihua said petulantly. He really disregarded my words. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji spread out their hands. Yihua is just like that. All right. How do you want to celebrate New Year's? Qingye asked curiously as she lightly leaned onto her husband's shoulder. Donghuang Baiji, who was at the side, was the same as well. Yihua said faintly. In the past, I have always been cold and cheerless. Therefore, this year, I plan to have a big reunion. I plan to call everyone over and celebrate New Year's with everyone. What do you think? Chapter 553. In the blink of an eye, it was February 4th. During this month, the cultivation world was quiet and nothing major happened. Perhaps it was because it was too quiet. It gave people the feeling that a storm was coming. But in the world of ordinary people, today was New Year's Eve. It was a good day for families to reunite. The whole of China was enveloped in a strong New Year atmosphere. And in Long'an City, it was even more so. Red lanterns were hung all over the streets and alleys, and there were even couplets pasted on the doors. It was very festive. Everyone was welcoming the new year, hoping that there would be a good omen, hoping that in the new year, the whole family would be safe and sound. In Scenic Garden, Death Mage and Sun Fong were currently preparing for the gathering. Tonight was the gathering that was arranged by his honor, and this gathering cannot be sloppy. As a little brother, to be able to attend such an occasion, what kind of glory is that? Bone, haven't you changed your clothes? We're leaving. Sun Fong was wearing a red flowery cheongsam. Her curvaceous figure was extremely sexy. Coupled with her beautiful face, she was indeed worthy of being called the proud daughter of the South. However, Sun Fong's face was filled with anxiety. Gigi, royal translation. These clothes are so hard to wear, can't I just wear a robe? Sun Fong seemed to understand. What do you look like wearing a black robe? Your wife said that tonight's theme is a festive one, so everyone has to wear red. Even LV Liang is wearing red. Don't waste time, hurry up. Gigi, royal translation. Human clothes are really hard to wear. Death Mage had no other choice and called Sun Fong over. When Sun Fong saw Death Mage's necktie, she immediately lost her composure. Are you trying to strangle yourself to death? Is this how you tie a tie? Death Mage didn't want to move anymore and spread out his hands. His meaning was very clear. Help me. Sun Fong shook her head, then carefully helped Death Mage to tie his necktie. Who asked me to like this stupid skeleton? Yihua picked up the red suit and put it on the Death Mage. Not to mention, the Death Mage really looked a bit handsome. A skull paired with a red suit, it looked a bit interesting. As for Sun Fong, she stood at the side and looked at the two people in the mirror. A warm expression appeared on her face, and she felt that they were quite compatible. In Wei Chang's room, the same scene was happening. Lil Tang, check if my tie is crooked. Wei Chang stretched his neck and carefully observed his appearance. The current Wei Chang paid great attention to this aspect. Tang Wei was wearing a red long dress, and within her innocence, there was a hint of sexiness. Wei Chang was also a man, and even though he hugged this kind of woman every day, he did not make a move. As for Tang Wei, she was already numb to it, and no longer held any hope. Let's take a look. Tang Wei said with a light smile. When Wei Chang turned around, Tang Wei stretched out her hand and smoothed her hair. My Uncle Wei is so handsome. I mustn't steal his honor's limelight. It's better for me to keep a low profile. Tang Wei immediately let out a light laugh. Uncle Wei even knows how to joke now. Uncle Wei, stop being so narcissistic. Let's hurry up and go. Everyone might have already arrived. Tang Wei urged. We can't be late. Don't let his honor scold us during the new year. Wei Chang checked his attire once more. After he felt relieved, he went downstairs with Tang Wei. When he got downstairs, he exclaimed, Lil Tang, is the red packet ready? Don't worry, everything is ready. Tang Wei felt that Uncle Wei was getting old and forgetful. Wei Chang nodded his head. I reckon that we will be able to get back the money we spent on the red packet. His honor will definitely give us a big red packet. All right, stop thinking about it. Let's hurry up and go. Tang Wei smiled helplessly. We are all so strong. Yet we are still thinking about whether or not we will be able to get back the money we spent on the red packet. On the other side, Lai Gu was also urging them. You all are more or less done. What are you all going to dress up like? Are you all going to dress up like his honor's wife? Lai Gu had long been dressed in a red suit, and he looked at the three women helplessly. Lai Gu was still wearing a delicate and beautiful lipstick as he said casually. We are no match for his honor's wife, but we cannot lose face for his honor. No matter what, you are still his honor's subordinate. You women just like to compare yourselves. What's there to compare yourselves with? Jinjin, wear that huge ring that I gave you last time. Wenxia, wear that huge diamond necklace as well. Lai Gu also joined in the dressing up of the three women, seemingly wanting to hang the things that he was most proud of on the three women. The three celebrities shook their heads helplessly. Haha men. Remember to bring red packets. Luckily my family has a lot of people. His honor is going to pack 4 red packets for us at once. Haha. Lai Gu was very pleased with himself. His honor is very good at saving money. Wanting his honor's money is equivalent to wanting his honor's life. Lai Gu was still smiling. Be careful, his honor might say that he is going to stew you again. That won't happen. It has already been over 1,000 years. Isn't it still fine? Lai Gu understood his honor very well. Although his honor has a sharp tongue, his heart is like tofu. Of course, this was only towards his own people. The three women smiled but did not say anything. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yihong sat on the bed and blankly looked at his wife who was putting on makeup. He was very puzzled. Wife, you are already so beautiful. Why are you still putting on makeup? Yihong asked curiously. Zishan rolled her eyes at her husband. You don't even understand this. Are you trying to gain face for yourself, idiot? Ah. I don't want this. Yihong was a little embarrassed. What do you mean don't want? My wife is beautiful, so I have to show off. Do you understand? Zishan was also indirectly praising herself. Yihong let out a long sigh. Sigh women. Zishan glared at Zishan, causing the latter to immediately cower. Are the red packets prepared? Zishan asked lightly. And they are all prepared. Zishan nodded her head. Big brother has moved out, and our family's burden has increased again. I hope that his honor will give us a big red packet this time. His honor will definitely give us a big red packet. Yihong was filled with confidence. His honor is such a magnanimous person. How could he not give us a red packet? Right now, LV Shu had already moved out of the villa, and was no longer the third wheel. Other than going to work at night, LV Shu would be lying on the big bed of the two sisters every day, enjoying the fortune that a man should have. LV Shu leaned against the wall, and looked at the two sisters' faces that were exactly the same. She truly felt that she had hit the jackpot. His honor is such a good person, he didn't betroth Zishan to me. I really can't afford to offend a shrew like her. Our family's blood race sisters are still the best. Furthermore, blood race's specialty is sucking. No matter if it is sucking blood or other things, being able to suck blood or suck other things would make you feel extremely happy. Are you two going to a beauty contest? LV Shu asked curiously. Serena drew her eyebrows and said lightly, "Your little brother's wife is so beautiful, we can't lose face for you." You're tuning in to the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.